Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching the podcast of Deconstructing Christianity. I am your host, Coach Renz. Welcome to the show. If you're finding me for the first time, what we do here on this channel is we deconstruct from Christianity, and that is the only thing we really talk about is deconstructing from Christianity. So I want to welcome everybody here. We are preparing ourselves to our meetup here in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. I hope that you guys can join us here. There are links in the description for the hotel that we're staying at. Please go ahead and you can still call in, even though the date has passed, to get the deal. You still get a free breakfast, still get a free supper, but you can still call in and get your hotel room at the Drury Plaza, downtown San Antonio. Look forward to it. Have a full agenda on that weekend. We're going to be meeting our meet and greet in Devil's River Distillery at 8 p.m. on that Friday, October 31st. Then we're going to meet at the poolside on November 1st for our first chat, which is going to be about business and money. Because we got to have our money right if we're going to be deconstructing from this religion. Nothing pulls you back into a religion like money, like suffering from finances. We also are going to then meet at 2 p.m. at the Japanese Tea Garden. It's a great place for us to have a Q&A on deconstructing on religion, on deconstructing religion from Christianity, all the ins and outs. I will have some subject matters to get the spark going. Then on that night, at 8 p.m., let me just put this up here. At 10 p.m. rather, 8 p.m. we're going to meet back up by the poolside, where we're going to have our discussion on developing in the deconstructing community and growing and building together. And then after that, November 2nd, we have our sound bowl meditation at 7 a.m. by the poolside. Now, on each one of those nights after the events have all concluded on Friday and Saturday, we probably gonna go do a little party. Do a little party or whatever floats our boat during that time frame. So I look forward to you guys joining us. Go to the link in the description of the live videos on YouTube, and you will be able to see the link to be able to meet us here in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. Also, you'll see a link for the shirts, whether it's the Lion Ass Liar shirt, the Free Yourself to Be Yourself, but get the merch. Show up with your shirt on. Show up with your shirt on. Right. So that's what we're going to be doing October 31st through November 2nd, meeting here in San Antonio. I look forward to you guys being here. It's going to be a grand old time. So today's subject matter, what are we talking about today? Now, I know I started a few minutes late, but I was hearing a Christian just flailing on another live a few minutes ago. So it captivated me, the amount of flailing that was happening. So I got caught off guard. So today's conversation, San Antonio win, October 31st through November 2nd. October 31st through November 2nd. We will be here in San Antonio. October 31st through November 2nd. Go to my YouTube channel at Coach Renz 33, at Coach Renz 33, and you'll see the link for the hotel. This is the agenda. Who was asking that question? Granny Man. I like that name. Yeah, so this is the agenda for when we have our Free Thinkers meetup. Just go to the YouTube channel it's in the link, in the description of the TikTok page, at Coach Renz, R-E-N-Z, the number 33. You'll see a link you can click yesterday's live, the day before live, and in the description, you'll see the link to the hotel as well as the link to get the merchandise. But yeah, you'll see that link. And be glad to have you. I need a couple more fellas to show up. I mean, I know we got some local fellas who are going to show up. We're going to balance out some of the women that's going to be there, but we need some fellas. We need a perfect harmony of masculine and feminine energy during that weekend, because thus far, I think the women out. I mean, it's a small group thus far. It's a small group. It's an intimate group, but we're going to be able to have great conversations and everything. So, matter of fact, where you at, Granny man? Where you located? Where you coming from? I don't need your address, just what city, state, that kind of thing. Just curious. I'm always curious as to where people are listening from and coming from. But we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna have a great time while we're there. Matter of fact, me and my wife we went for our, we getting into the habit of exercising every day. Oh, you up on Blanco Road? Okay, so you're on Blanco Road. If you are a local, it would be great for you to go ahead and reserve a room and stay downtown. But if you do not, for whatever reason, if you do not, then hit me up in my DM. Somebody's knocking on my door because you so we can get you up to the pool. Hold on. Damn door-to-door salesman. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. That might have been important. Damn door-to-door salesman. Yeah, so shit, where was I at? Once a week, some door-to-door salesman comes by. Yeah, so make sure you send me a message, Granny Man, as to your intentions. If you're not getting a hotel room, if you're not going to stay at the Drury Plaza downtown San Antonio, if you're not going to stay there and you're local, you need to contact me, because otherwise you won't be able to get up to poolside. But hey, just make it a staycation and get you a room anyway, because Blanco Road is a long ass road. You could be way the hell out there, 45 minutes away from downtown. All right. Damn door-to-door salesman, messing up my groove. But it gave me some leeway time, some break time, to be able to talk about our subject matter. So are we ready? Even though we know I'm going to, and I say this every time, I'm going to have to rehash this multiple times, but for those who are listening early, those who just want to listen to the first part, don't want to hear the debating part, let me go ahead and make my case. The question that we have on the table today is, was God good to Job, Adam and Eve, or non-Israelites? The basic question that we're looking at here is the concept of, is this God good? Over and over again, Christians often say that God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. And that everything that God does is for the good, and that God is just, and so on and so forth. But this is a good, loving God. So when we look at the stories, and we can look at different stories and many different stories, and we can look at many different situations within the Bible, the question begs, is this God actually good according to the treatment of Job, according to the treatment of Adam and Eve, and according to the treatment of the non-Israelites? Although we could have talked about women, we could talk about slaves, we could talk about so many children. We're going to try to stay within this realm of the conversation. When we look at the story of Job, who was said to be a righteous man, a pious man, a man who was upright in all his ways. That means that Job was not in violation of the law of God. Job was doing everything according to the law. Job was so damn good that he was being blessed left and right. And oftentimes, as we see in the Bible, and as is the tradition in Judaism, you would know how righteous a person is based on the wealth that God brings to them, because God brings wealth to those who are righteous. This is why Abraham becomes rich. This is why Everybody, all your heroes of the Bible become wealthy in one form or another. Even your Jesus character is not poor. If you know anything about first century carpenters or stonemasons, they were not poor, not of a poor workers guild. Those were upper middle class people. So Joseph nor Jesus would have been poor. So Jesus also had a treasurer. I'm not rich, nor am I poor, but I do not have a treasurer. I don't have an accountant like that. Don't need one. So these people were not poor. Job was not a poor man. Job was a very wealthy man based on his righteousness. Because he was so righteous, this God put this hedge of protection around him. Now, according to the story, Eliam was having a meeting. He was having a meeting of the big of all the other little G's and all the B'nai Elohim, and they was all meeting up there. And the one who was designated with the title, not the, but the main titled Hasatan, which means adversary, the one who was the main person to, question things. In the Jewish tradition, the 13th man, meaning that if all 12 agree, it is the duty of the 13th man, that is his title, to be an adversary, to be adversarial to what the group agrees to. And this is done in this tradition in order for people to understand, in order for them not to miss out on something, not to be blinded by something, right? So the Satan was brought up into the meeting. The Satan, this guy asked, hey man, where you been? And this guy, not knowing where he's been, but it's interesting since he posts the news, everything. And he says, where have you been? He said, I've been to and fro, earth to heaven. Now, the Satan didn't bring up Job. Satan didn't have nothing, wasn't thinking about Job. Job was first thing from his mind. And the God is the one who brings up this Job. Eliam said, hey, did you notice my servant Job? Pious and righteous in all his ways. And Satan said, yeah, well, he's only pious. He's only pious because you give him everything. He's only pious because he got all the money, he got a good family, got a nice wife, everything. That's the only reason. Eliam said, you want to make a bet? I bet you if you go down there and fuck Job's life up, Job still will remain pious. Satan is like, nah, bro. I go down there and I do my thing. You gotta do what you allow me to do what you command me to do. Then Job will certainly curse you. So they make the bet. Satan goes down, kills his kids. The only thing he can't do is take away Job's life. Kills all his animals. Decimates his land. Job still believes in his God. Then he said, well, can I hurt Job? Can't kill him, can I hurt him? He said, yeah, go ahead. He go down there, and then he put some boils and sickness all over Job. And Job is still praising to this God. Job's friends come up and be like, hey, man, you must have sinned. You must have done something. And Job's like, I ain't done nothing, because Job is righteous and pious. And so Satan said, you know what? You win. You win the bet. And God says, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that Job get everything back ×2. But the problem is, there's a couple of problems here. When Job questions God, like, not angrily, Job is like, okay, I've been pious, I've been righteous based on your word, based on what you say, God, of how to demonstrate your love, my love for you. I have done these things. Why have all these things happened to me? This guy said, oh, well, I was making this bet with Satan, just to prove something to the Satan. And I know you went through hell on a high stick, but I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna give you everything back. Nope. He cussed Job out. Motherfucker, where were you when the foundations of the earth were being laid? Can you make the sun come out? Cussing Job out. Because Job asked a very legitimate question for someone who was doing the right thing according to this God, but then gets cussed out for questioning this God. Right? This is why they told you in church when you was little, don't question God. Because you might get cussed out. And so he gives Job a whole bunch of more kids. as if that's going to make a difference. If my first children died, do you think just because I had some more children that all of a sudden I'm going to be like, yay, I forgot my other kids died? Now, if you've seen the show Bad Omen, which if you haven't seen Bad Omen, you want to watch Bad Omen. They've had 2 seasons, but Bad Omen is funny as shit. And when they do the Job part, the angel basically instead of killing Job's kids, he make them into lizards. And then when Job gets some new kids, he make the lizards back into the kids. And Job was like, but these are my old kids. And his wife like, no, these are new kids. So Bad Omen is a good show. Anyway, it's a British show, but it's a good show. Not that a British show gotta be bad, I'm just letting you know. But anyway, so Job is sitting. So Job goes through hell and high water in order so this guy can win a bet against the Satan. Not that he taught the Satan something, not that the purpose of it was to teach the Satan something. There was actually no rational reason nor rhyme for this story to have ever occurred, for this God to do this. And yet, is this a good God? Would have to be the question. Is this good morality? Because if I were to make a bet with, who's on here? Kevin. If I made a bet with Kevin, nah, Kevin, you too good of a person. If I made a bet with James Williams to go in and in the bet, what we're gonna do is fuck up Kevin Williams' life. Kevin Will's life. And then Kevin Wills get his house burnt down, his kids are killed, he's got boils and sores, he loses all his job, he loses his property, he loses everything. And then when I tell Kevin, well, the only reason I did all this is, and I let James go and do all this stuff to you is because me and James had a bet, because I know that, you my boy, you my friend, right? We good like that. And we were just testing to see how good you are. I just wanted I just wanted him to know how good you are. Not testing you to see how good you are. I wanted him, James, to know how good of friends me and Kevin are. Am I being a good friend to James? I mean, to Kevin at that point. If I'm being a good friend to Kevin, put a 1 in the comments. If I'm being a terrible friend to Kevin, give me a 2 in the comments. And for those who are new to the show, I go through about a 15, 20 minute spiel before I start letting people up on the program, just to let you know. And then I only talk to one person at a time. But if I'm being a bad friend, a horrible friend to Kevin, give me a 2 in the comments. If I'm being a great friend to Kevin, give me a 1 in the comments. Deborah says 2. Okay, Deborah says I'm being a bad friend to Kevin. Q said I'm being a bad friend. Lo said I'm being a bad friend. KC said I'm being a bad friend. Shyla said I'm being a bad friend. Granny Man saying I'm being a bad friend. So if I'm being a bad friend to Kevin, James Williams said I'm being a good friend to Kevin. James Williams, who is a believer in the Bible, on Facebook. It's because we're on TikTok here, Facebook, and YouTube there. Saying I'm being a good friend to Kevin. PSA warning to everyone. Do not become James Williams' friend. If you're on Facebook, James Williams send you a friend request. I am warning you not to become friends with him. Brandy says I'm being a terrible friend. Do not become James Williams' friend, because James Williams will treat his friends in such a way that he is willing to destroy their lives to prove a point to someone else. Because that's what this guy does in this story. He destroys Job's life based on a bet that the only implication would be to prove that he is right to Satan. And it's not trying to convince the Hasatan to be something different, because the Hasatan in this story is just the title of the prosecutor. He's the 13th man, right? So he's not trying to prove something to the Hasatan, because Hasatan is at B'nai Elohim. He has his place within all the Godhead, the godly council that's going on. So he ain't got nothing to lose. He ain't got nothing to learn. He's not going to grow in stature. He's not going to gain anything. So this is all an ego trip, well, really it's an id trip of this guy. It's an id trip of this guy. Because if he had ego, he would have balanced the situation between his id of desires and the super ego of what everybody else thinks, if he had a properly mounted ego. So he is all on his id. So the God is not good. How is God good in the Job story? Let me skip. I'm going to go through the next two really quick. But Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve. I got two baby-minded ass people in the garden. They don't know the difference between good and evil. I got a tree that teaches them the difference between good and evil, but I don't want them to consume the fruit from that tree, because if they do, they will become like me. And I'm going to tell them that if you do eat from this tree, you will die. I'm not going to tell them that you'll become like me, but I'm going to tell them you will die if in the day that you eat this. And I might show them the tree, but then God puts the tree right in the middle of the garden. The tree looks pleasant to the eye. The fruit from the tree looks good for food. And I'm going to put that tree right in front of them. I want them to see this tree and their comings and goings, as their job is to manage this garden. Yet they don't know the difference between good and evil. So if anybody else were to come and tell them something, now if I'm the only person that tells them this, right? I'm the only person that tells them this. The hell? Then there is no way for somebody else to come and counterman what I'm saying, because I know I got these baby-minded people, these childlike minded people in here who don't know the difference between good and evil. So they can't be swayed if no one else comes and tells them. But instead of that, when I created all the animals from the dirt to see which one would be a good helpmeet for Adam, I'm going to make the snake more cunning than all the other animals. I'm going to purposely make this snake more cunning. Now, am I going to take the snake like I should take the tree and put it way far away outside of the garden on a high mountain below the surface of the ocean? Nope. I'm going to put them all right there together, because I want to see what they do when this cunning snake, cunning serpent come to them and not lie to them, but tell them the fullness of what happens if you eat from this tree. Then when the serpent does tell them that, hey, God knows that when the day that you eat this tree, that you're going to become like us, knowing the difference between good and evil. Now, if you cannot understand the difference of what it means, or how important, or the mindset of knowing whether or not something is good and evil, let me refer you to one of your Bibles, what Christians call a prophecy for Jesus, but it's not a prophecy for Jesus. And that is in Isaiah, and I believe it's 15 or 45, one of them, somewhere around there, where it says that there is a young woman who has already given birth to a child. And within that, it says that before that child knows the difference between good and evil, King Hazaz, you will have won your battles over your king. So it's not a prophecy about Jesus, it's a prophecy about King Hazaz during that time frame of Isaiah. So, but he says that there's a time frame before the child will know the difference between good and evil. So Adam and Eve were not as developed as far as the knowledge of good and evil as the child that Isaiah is talking about. Isaiah 7:14. Thank you, Tarbo. So that they are not as developed as that child. that Isaiah is talking about. Okay, somebody's saying they say 45:7. Tarbo say 7:14. I think it's 45:7. I think Granny Man is right. But the point is, this is the state of Adam and Eve, and yet this God allows for this serpent to come in there that he created and that he made more cunning. And in making this serpent more cunning, he knows that the serpent will be able to tell them something that is different from what this God told them. But what the serpent told them was not false, because at the end of the story, when this God finds out that they've eaten from this tree and they've come into this knowledge of good and evil, what does this God say? Now man has become like us, knowing the difference between good and evil. Therefore, validating, thank you for the gifts, therefore validating exactly what the serpent said, so the serpent did not lie. Now, in the day that they eat it, and you can read a doctoral paper on the word yom. Thank you for the gift. I don't know what a J means, but thank you for the gift. The word yom, no scholar will say, no real scholar, an apologist maybe, but no scholar will say that the word yom means longer than a 24-hour day in this instance of the Bible in Genesis 2 and 3. It is one freaking day, 24 hours. Just like in Genesis 1, it is 24 hours, one day. So the person who lied is this God. Now, if lying is a sin and this God lied, then this God cannot be good. And then the simple fact, oh, damn, you saying the simple fact is you think you know better. No, I do. Because, let's see, let me use somebody else. Debbie. Got Debbie over there on Facebook. Debbie got 2 children. She got a boy and she got a girl. Debbie tell her children, hey, don't take candy from the man in the white van with no window. Don't take candy from the man in the van with the white windows. Because if you take candy from the man in the van with the white windows, I'm gonna give you a spanking. And then along comes somebody else, Debbie's neighbor, Jackie. Jackie is Debbie's neighbor. And Jackie comes up to the 2 children, and Jackie say, hey, I know that Debbie said don't take candy from the man in the white van because then Debbie's gonna give you a spanking. But what Debbie know is that if you take candy from the man in the white van, that she ain't really gonna spank you. Now Jackie is not lying. But what's happening here is that Jackie knows that if you take candy from the man in the white van with no windows, the man in the white van with no windows is gonna kidnap your ass. And you may not ever see your parents again. So Debbie can't whoop you. She can't spank you because you're gone. Now, is Debbie a good parent? So if Debbie was a good parent, give me a 1 in the comment. If Debbie's a bad parent, give me a 2 in the comments. Because if Debbie tells her kids that the only reason not to take candy from the man in the white van is that she gonna spank you, Debbie lying. Because Debbie know full damn well if you take candy from the man in the white van with no windows, that you about to disappear and go through some hellacious situation. In this instance, Jackie was the only one telling the truth. Just like the serpent was the only one telling the truth. Because the God of the Bible lied. Just like Debbie lied. Debbie telling them kids she gonna spank them. Debbie ain't gonna spank them kids because them kids gonna be gone. Because the man in the white van with no windows is kidnapping your kids. So how in the world does that happen? Debbie said, hey, I'm a great parent. This guy, so this guy was not being a good A parent, one of the most important jobs of a parent is to protect your children. God is a poor parent when it came to the protecting of Adam and Eve. He was horrible. He is not a good parent in protecting Adam and Eve in that story. So God cannot be good if he's a bad parent. God lied to Adam and Eve in this story. By his own admission, lying is a sin, and the wages of sin is death, according to this book. So then God should be dead because God lied to Adam and Eve, because in the day that they ate from the tree, they did not die. Kevin said he gonna call CPS. Hey, let me tell you something. I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Granny Man he'll understand this. You know, I was confused when I got here to San Antonio, and they was like, "Oh, you gotta call CPS," and people kept telling me you gotta call CPS. I was like, "What am I calling CPS for?" CPS is the power company in San Antonio. So I was like, "Oh, no damn CPS! I ain't got no kids. What, I'm telling on somebody?" Mm-mm-mm. Street Jesus, they did not die spiritually. That's not the subject matter for today, but y'all need to get rid of that nonsensical thought process that they died spiritually is a made-up doctrine, because biblical apologists and pastors needed some funky way to explain away why they didn't die that day. There is absolutely nothing that indicates that they died spiritually. When no scholar will say that that is what that meant. So you need to find another argument, because that one don't work. Did God lie? So he's a liar, and he's a bad protector of his children. That, how is he a good God? Right? And then he set up the whole thing where later on he wants to get rid of incest, but I'm just saying, Adam had sex with his clone. That's a freaky ass incest. And then Cain and Abel, either they had sex with their mama or they had sex with unknown, unnamed brothers and sisters. Well, sisters. In order for Cain to have some kids, in order for Seth to have some kids. So he disapproves of incest, but then he set the system up so that there had to be incest. And we already know this guy is kind of a freak, though, you know. Most freaky dicky, I don't mind, but as long as it ain't painful, most freaky dicky, I don't mind. But the incestuous freaky dicky later tells you that you don't have sex with your mama, but Cain and Seth had to have sex with their mama. Later says that you can't have sex with your sister, but Cain and Seth must have had sex with their sisters. So we got some freaky dicky going on, some nastiness. I'm gonna change the rule, and don't write that, oh, that their bodies were more pure at that time frame, and then that God had to wait for enough people to be on the planet so that there was enough genetic diversity. If people are just having sex with brothers and sisters, and then uncles and sisters, nieces and nephews and aunts and cousins, and they doing a whole bunch of cousin fucking, then and you still call that genetic diversity? That's not genetic diversity, right? Genetic diversity cannot come from a family line. That is still incestuous. I don't care if you bang in your fifth cousin, your seventh cousin, your eighth cousin, your ninth, your 10th cousin. You are incestuous. There is nothing in your Bible, Street Jesus. Now, there are other books. I think the Apocryphon of Adam says that they had twin sisters and they give them names. But I mean, that's one of the many, many, many books of fantasy, just like the books that you have in the Bible are nothing more than fantasy. Wang Chung Lee, who are you talking to? Come close it. If I need to watch my mouth, come close it, Wang Chung Ki. Wang Chung Lee, come close it. Don't you? I hope you're talking to somebody else. But you talking to me, come close it. Okay, yes. So last but not least, non-Israelites, the other people that we're talking about here. And you can pretty much grab any storyline, any thought process to be able to demonstrate how this God is not good to non-Israelites. We could talk about the story when Isaiah is going, not Elijah, is going up against the priest of Baal. All right. Did this God say, hey, I'm gonna help, the priest of Baal after I demonstrate who I am, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to convert over so that you can worship me? Nope. He just killed all of them. We can look at the story of Jericho. Did he send priests or prophets over into the city of Jericho and say, hey, y'all been worshiping this other God. Y'all need to stop worshiping this other God. We got the one true God. If you don't stop worshiping him, then we're going to come in here and destroy your city. Nope. Didn't do none of that. Just went over there and destroyed their people, killed their people. Even when we look at Pharaoh in the Exodus story, did this guy go to Pharaoh and say, hey, Pharaoh, I'm going to need you to let my people go, and I'm going to demonstrate to you that I'm the one true God without trying to kill y'all? Nope. He says that before Moses even got to Egypt, that he was going to go and harden Pharaoh's heart. And then he hardened his heart. Then the first time he hardened his heart before he got there. Then when he got there, this guy hardened Pharaoh's heart again. He purposely wanted to do all that shit. He purposely wanted to kill all them people, kill all them animals. He purposely wanted to do all that. He purposely said, go genocide these people. He purposely says in Deuteronomy that if you have a war with somebody and you get the women that you take as prisoners of war, if you want to marry one of them, fine, marry one of them, let them shave their head, make them shave their head, let them go through their mourning, shave their head, and then you can go inside of them. You know what that means, go inside and make them your wives. These are prisoners of war, so they lack consent. So he's authorizing rape of these women. When he tells them to go genocide these people, but keep the young girls, he's authorizing the rape of these young girls. Going in and genociding a people without any cause whatsoever, this God does repeatedly. So explain to me how this God is good when he doesn't even go and try to talk to the other people. He don't even try to work with them. He don't try to bring them prophets. He brings the sword. He brings genocide. He brings slavery. Speaking of slavery, he tells the Israelites, make your fellow Israelites indentured servants, and then free them at the year of Jubilee, mainly if it's a dude. And the only time when it's a woman, for the most part, is if the dude comes into it with his woman. That's about it. But for the foreigners, you can treat them harshly. You can fuck them over, and they're just your property. So to non-Israelites, you got slavery, chattel slavery. For Israelites, you have indentured servitude, where you got to pay them, and even when they leave, you got to give them some extra shit. So, question is, in any of these situations, it demonstrates how evil, how bad, how horrible, how terrible this God is. So, how do believers form their mouth to say that their God is good when there is overwhelming evidence that demonstrates that their God is not good? And Rupert, where in the Bible does this God, he said he warned them every time. When did he warn the people of Jericho? When did he warn the Egyptians? When did he warn the people of Ai? This God does not warn. Hell, he didn't even warn the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. When did he warn the people of Sodom and Gomorrah? I'm wondering when this warning went out. Now, to be honest, most of the comments that people have been posting, I have not read any of them. So if it was a certain point that you want to get across and I did not mention or say anything about it, for one, it might be just as too many damn comments between Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Secondary to that is when I'm going through my spiel, I don't pay attention to comments to make sure I don't get thrown off too much. Unless I just happen to see a comment that sticks out that it's in the line of what I'm talking about. Now, Street Jesus, who is, from my understanding, if I'm wrong, just correct me. From my understanding, follows the Gnostic version, where Yahweh is the evil demiurge god of the Old Testament, and the Jesus character is talking about going back to the primordial. Now, if you were to take that stance, then yes, Yahweh is evil. So Jesus, street Jesus would agree with me. The problem is, Jesus showed some of these characteristics. Jesus said, I come to split and divide houses, rain war upon you. Called that Canaanite woman a dog. Jesus practiced some ethnocentric, what we would call ethnocentrism, which we would call racism today. Look at Rupert. He can't pick out a point. So he got to say, really go back and read them. They were warned. No, Rupert, you have to support your baseless claim. Support your baseless claim, Rupert. All right, let's see. Let me see if I'm talking about it. I don't know if Maryland waited. Nope, Maryland didn't wait long enough. So I look at some of these comments. My man Isaac, he didn't warn anyone except Noah about the flood. The Bible says the people didn't know until the flood came and they were swept away. Exactly. And even when that is repeated in the New Testament, it's saying that it will be as in the time of Noah, meaning people will not know when it's coming. They won't know when it's about to happen. They'll be living their lives in the same way they previously lived their lives. And then all of a sudden, it's supposed to happen. Now, today is the 8th of October, and according to Brother Joshua, he amended his rapture because he said, oh, he was looking at the Gregorian calendar. He forgot I was looking at the Gregorian calendar. I meant October 7th and 8th is when the rapture goes out. So I don't know why these Christians are on here. Y'all missed the rapture. You Bible believers who are on here, y'all missed the rapture. Again. Just keep missing your rapture. And thank you for putting this up here, Q. This is Jesus. Matthew 15, 21 through 28, and Mark 7, 24 through 30. When she begged him to heal her demon-possessed daughter, he said, it is not right to take children's bread and give it to the dogs. The woman cleverly responded, yes, Lord, but even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. A reply that showcased her faith and led to her daughter's healing. So he was like, yeah, you know what? You recognize that you are a dog that's to be under the table. I'm gonna let y'all mind soak that in. But you're a dog under the table of the children, and you can have the crumbs. But he accepted this woman saying that she is a dog. If Jesus was a loving and kind person, if Jesus was for everybody, then the Jesus character should have said, oh, no. He would never, first of all, he would never call her. And if he did call her a dog, and then she says that, he should have realized, you know what, if he was God, because I can realize this as a human, to say that, don't call yourself a dog. You're not a dog. You deserve a seat at the table just as much as anybody else. But nope. This joker, hold on. This joker said, I gotta look, I'm not sure if this is correct. He said the Hebrew word is closer to puppy than dog. Is a puppy not a dog? Like, are you serious? Are you trying to make it better? Maybe I'm not understanding the context, the tonality that you put that in. But are you saying that a puppy? Oh, it makes it all right because he called it a puppy. A puppy is still a dog. Is a puppy gonna turn to a cat? Is a puppy gonna turn to a rat? Is a puppy gonna turn to a goat? Is a puppy gonna turn to a moat? Is a puppy gonna turn to a bird? Is a puppy gonna turn into a word? A puppy can only be a dog, and a dog once was a puppy. That's some made up Dr. Seuss bullshit by Coach Rance. Oh, you gotta love how they try to change it. He called her a dog. This is Jackie, y'all. Jackie McCall. He called her a dog because she had a dog mentality, Gentiles. Nothing has changed. Mankind still has that dog mentality. No, I do not have a dog mentality. A dog is a non-conscious, is a low conscious being that just responds to somebody petting them, responds to somebody taking care of them until that person stops, and then they will turn on you. But a dog is a derogatory term, has always been a derogatory term throughout time immemorial when referred to a person. So to say that he did that because she had a Gentile mentality, you have no idea about this woman's mentality. She could have been a nice mother. She could have been the best mother. She could have been the best citizen. She could have been the best wife. She could have been helping strangers and doing all these great things for people. You have no idea about this lady's mentality. You are pressing your own thought process of it in order to justify Jesus calling her a dog. But if Jesus was so loving, Jesus wouldn't call anybody out their name. But of course, Jesus did call her out her name. I didn't even think about this, Tina. Thank you. A puppy is an undisciplined dog. So he's calling her an unworthy dog. You ain't even worthy of the hunt. You ain't even a helpful dog. Dude, stop, Dustin. Stop, Dustin. Dustin, you are not making your case, which refers to a little dog or a puppy, just saying. And he called her a dog. It's as simple as that. There's no way around it. There you go, Jackie. Humans acting like unhuman behavior. That's what a dog mentality is. Tell me how you know how this woman's mentality works. What makes this, tell me where this woman's mentality is described in any aspect of your Bible that Jesus would call her a dog. Because you know nothing about this woman other than the fact that she had a child that she believed was demon possessed. She probably just schizophrenic. And then she went begging for help, trying to get her daughter help. If she, this is how far believers go in order to try to justify their belief, is that they will spin this like nobody's business to try to make Jesus seem like he's a good person. He's not a good person. And if Jesus is part of your Trinity, he can't be a good person because your God of the Old Testament is not a good person. He's not a good God. He's not a good God at all. A good God doesn't say, you know what? This man's took some of the silver from this conquest of Jericho. But I'm not only going to punish the man, I'm going to also punish his wife. I'm going to punish his children. I'm going to punish his servants. And I'm going to punish all his animals. What did the animals have to do with it? The kids could have known and not told anybody and kept it a secret. Okay, you mad at them. The wife could have known, kept it a secret. The slaves, the servants that he had could have known and kept a secret. But the animals didn't have shit to do with it. Where you go? All of them. All of them. And to kill somebody because they're a Canaanite is to insinuate that every Canaanite person is evil. That is propaganda. In the same way that when I was growing up in the 80s, it was always portrayed that everybody in the Soviet Union was a communist, and all the communists were evil and wanted the destruction of America. That's a lie. Most Russians didn't, no, most Soviets didn't give two shits about America. They were just trying to live their life. In the same way today, most people who are Muslim are not trying to jihad Americans or America or any other Western country. Most are just living their lives, not even giving two thoughts about what Westerners are doing. So when you say, oh, she was a Canaanite, then that means that she was evil, that she had a dog mentality. It's utter nonsense and bullshit. That's the same way. And if you are a person of color and you are walking down that pathway, let me remind you, that is the mentality of white supremacy when they say that all black men are thieves and murderers and rapists. Are you a thief, murderer, and a rapist? I don't know who said that shit. Who said that Canaanite shit? Who said that Canaanite shit? Divinely autistic. Now you might have been divinely autistic may have been saying it to be sarcastically about what they say, if I remember that person correctly. Hold on, and there's something. Let me see. Give me a second. I'm looking for something else. Okay, Jackie. So, Jackie, when you say mankind still has that dog mentality, that is insinuating that is insinuating all. You didn't specifically say all mankind, but when you make a general statement that mankind has that mentality, it could be understood as all. But you're correcting yourself and say you're not meaning all. I'll take it. I'll let you have it. I thought you were. That's why I had to go back. That's why I had to go back and I had to see who said the Canaanite thing, because Divinely Autistic said that they were agreeing with me. I don't know if you'll mail them on. That's why I said they. Excuse me. But yeah, so that is the type of mentality that the believers have. Oh, they were Canaanites, so they was evil. Basically, you're evil if you don't worship their God. You have to be committing to evil types of things if you don't worship their God. You mean to tell me that there were no babies in Sodom and Gomorrah? That there were no babies who was 2 years old, 3 years old, no toddlers running around, no 5, 6, 7 years old. Me and my wife was watching my annual rewatching of the series Spartacus, and I remember at one point I was remarking to her about how during this war, the children were in the little encampment. Children, they got suffering all around them, but children will always find the time to play. They will always find the time to play. Kids will play all the time, right? And they're innocent because they're innocent of things that are going on around them. They don't know, so they're gonna play. So you mean tell me that in all of Sodom and Gomorrah, that there weren't 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 children who was running around? That they weren't good to go. And I know what Christians say, oh, but you know, they would have killed all the adults. Who would have raised the kids? Hell, you go in and you take all the young women who haven't known a man and make them your wives. They could have took the kids. But no, this guy said, I'm gonna kill everybody in Sodom and Gomorrah because the men came to get that angelic pum pum. Now, Dustin Cross says that Canaanites was a furry sweat and billionaire. Welcome back. The Canaanites were sacrificing children by essentially cooking them alive. Okay, so here's one thing. There is evidence that both Canaanites and Israelites participated in child sacrifice. But there is no evidence that this was done at such a wholesale level that they were killing all these kids, right? This is a very rare occurrence when child sacrifice would happen, right? Because if you killed a whole bunch of children, your civilization dies out. Plus, people will leave your fucking civilization, right? So Israelites also practiced child sacrifice and were admonished for it, but yet they still got to live. So why is it that Canaanites got to be genocided for the same crime that Israelites only get a little bit of admonishment? Everybody doesn't get genocided in the Israelites for practicing child sacrifice, but everybody gets genocided if you are a Canaanite and you practice child sacrifice. See, that's unjust. That's why I put or the non-Israelites, because that's an unjust behavior when you genocide, when you punish one group more harshly than you punish the other group. We call that injustice. In the same way where a person gets sentenced for a longer time frame by the same judge for the same crime than another person, simply based on whether or not they're male or female, or if they're melanated or non-melanated, you or lowly melanated, and you give one person a harsher penalty for the same crime. That's not justice. So God is not just nor good to the non-Israelites, but not the God of this Bible, which makes him not a good God. Like in these situations, there is absolutely no way a Christian, a Bible believer can say this God is good unless you completely put that dunce cap on, put the blinders on, so that you can only see what you want to see or what these people have told you over and over again. What's been preached at you over and over again. So what is Tim? I think what Tim is saying. If God only protects his own, what's going to happen to all the Christian people who decided to join? The God isn't interested in them because the people he chose were destined for his pleasure. Right? This God has a chosen people, a chosen group. Those are the only people that this God wants. He don't want y'all, all you Gentiles. Paul done tricked y'all into thinking that he wants y'all. Now, I would have to go read that again. Divinely autistic. He said in Ezekiel 8 and 9, Yahweh killed children that didn't receive a mark on their forehead. Now, I know that there's somewhere where it says that this guy, if a child does not get circumcised, that child will not enter heaven. This God also says that if a child is born a bastard, that they are outside of they can't go into the sanctuary. And also referring to the sanctuary as being able to go into this heavenly realm. They're outside of the assembly. So if I don't, you don't get your dick skin cut off, this guy can't deal with you. Doesn't matter how good of a person you are. Doesn't matter if you follow his little rules and everything. But if that dick skin don't get cut off, can't be with this guy. All right. You eat some shrimp. Don't be eating no shrimp. You eat some shrimp. Can't deal with you. Hold on, my contact moved. Oh, I need to go get another exam, get some new contacts. So this guy is only, and he's not even really good to his own children. He's not even really good to his own kids. My kids have disobeyed me plenty of times, but I've never wanted to kill them. I never wanted to kill all of them. This guy created all the people on earth, and then he said, you know what? I'm tired of these fuckers. Flood, kill them all. They go around, he free them from Egypt. They complaining all the whole trip. They complaining. Get to look at the promised land. They complaining again. Tell Moses, I'm killing all their asses. I'm tired of these fuckers. I think that was even before they got to see the promised land. Yeah, that was before they got to the promised land. He's like, I'm killing all these people. He got to be tricked by Moses to not kill everybody. I don't know where that comment, my son uses cuss words by the age of 2 comes from, but your son used cuss words because he heard somebody cussing. Oh, he said, how long does it take for a child to use curse words? If you cussing around a child, as they learn how to speak, they will use those words. Now, do children know whether those words are good or bad? No, not until you tell them, not until you teach them that those are bad words, right? Like I had to stop my, when, how old was she? I think Sydney was about, let's see, we was in Tampa. So Sydney was probably about 2 years old the first time it happened, 2, 3 years old. And I used to let Sydney watch the WWF with me. So I was not surprised when she jumped up on the couch one day and said, I'm gonna lay the smack it down on your candy ass in a 2-year-old version because I had her watching wrestling with me. That was the last time she watched wrestling with me. Because they learn based on what they see. And did she know that that was a curse word? Of course not. So to say that a child curses at 2 only means that you were cursing around your kids, or you were letting your kids listen to something that was cursing, or somebody around them was cursing, and they didn't know what the hell it meant. I'm gonna need you to do better than that. I'm gonna need you to do better than that. And then curse words change. Back in the day, a kid back 200 years, 300 years ago, kid could say, "Oh, there's an let me go out back. I'm gonna take the ass and I'm gonna go down the street with it and get some bales of hay." You know, at some point, ass wasn't a cuss word. It wasn't referring to an attitude or behavior or your backside. Language is alive. It changes constantly. That crawfish good. You're going to hell, you eating crawfish. Don't be eating that crawfish. Don't go to hell. God told you not to eat that crawfish. All my Louisiana people will be on here. Yeah, Furry, you're not is Fury. Call you Furry, sorry. Fury. If you're not an Israelite, yeah, you fuck hope you're not going to hell. I mean, nobody even really knows who the Israelite, what an Israelite is anymore. So much mixture. I'm with you, Dwayne. Actually, I say that I take the blame when my daughter said I'm gonna lay the smack down on your candy ass because the rock came out. I laughed at it. I thought it was funny. It just so happened their mama was in the next room and she didn't think it was funny. So she didn't let her watch wrestling with me no more. Hmm. I am shocked. I just knew I would have a parade of Christians, of Bible believers, trying to defend the goodness of their God. But I guess they scared because they know in truth, oh my gosh, they know in truth that their God is not real. Brandy, you in Louisiana as well. I mean, it used to be most of the viewers were in like Texas and New York and amazingly Nigeria. All of a sudden this month, these last couple of weeks, it's been Louisiana all up in this joint, which gives them an opportunity for another shameless plug. For those of you who are new to the channel, didn't hear me earlier, we are having a meetup here in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. There's a link in the description of the last live and this one that will allow you to be able, you can't go look at it right now, but there's a link in the description of this video so you can still sign up. Even though the date has passed for the hotel, you can still sign up. You can still get your room here at the Drury Plaza in downtown San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. I don't know where, what's, I ain't never heard of that place that she's from. Huma, Homa, Houma, Houma, Louisiana. Yeah, there. So we're having that meetup. Come and join us. Have fun with us. And there's also a link in that description where you can get the t-shirts, whether it's the Lion That's Liar, or you can get the Free Yourself to Be Yourself, or the Good Journey, Good Vibration shirts. Love to see you. I just put this up just so that after the event, I want to know if Fred gonna repent for the lying that he's doing by saying that he's gonna be here, and also claiming that, yeah. I want to see if because we know he lying right now, right? We know he's lying, but I understand that he would lie because that's just like his God. His God lied to Adam and Eve, and so since his God lied to Adam and Eve, then why shouldn't a Christian or a Bible believer go and lie? Because that's what their God does. He lies constantly, always lying. Right? He lied and said that the serpent would eat dust for all the days of his life, but there is no serpent on the planet that eats dust. All serpents eat other animals and insects. There is no serpent that eats dust. Snakes who crawl on their belly, which must be the animal that he's talking about, because other serpents, that's the only serpent that I can think of that crawls on his belly, right? They don't eat dust. Their tongues actually flicker upward. That's their nose, that's their sense of smell. If they was letting it hit the dirt, then they would not be able to track their prey. So he even lied about the biology of a serpent. He lies about the biology of a woman because if a woman does not bleed on her wedding day, then she cannot be a virgin. So he doesn't even know the biology of a woman because he lied. He doesn't know. No, Lo, I'm not being overly literal. I'm being literal to the statement, to the level that the Bible is being literal. There is nothing in that is metaphorical. When you say you will eat the dust, I understand you might mean, oh, because they so low to the ground in order to. No. And is it because people take things to try to make them metaphorical that people create other narratives, right? So, like when he says that there will be enmity between the serpent and the children of the woman, between the woman, the fruit of the woman, or something like that. This is where some people have tried to indicate and made up the whole rhetoric that the serpent had sex with Eve and Cain is the child of the serpent, right? This is how people make shit up. This was literally people back in the day thought that snakes eat dust because they're so low to the ground. But fact of the matter is, he lied on so many other occasions, like a woman bleeding during her wedding night. Why give a law that would condemn about 40% of the women who are virgins but don't bleed the first time they have sex? We agree the serpent seed stuff is ridiculous. But let's think about that let's think about that one though. Let's think about that one, everybody. About 40% of women don't bleed when they have sex for the first time. It's somewhere around in there. Don't quote me on the exact number. This dude made a law that says that women who don't bleed must have had sex with someone else. So therefore, on her wedding night, she didn't maintain her virginhood. So therefore, she should be taken to the front of her father's house and stoned to death. Whether they did it or not doesn't matter. The fact that this God did it is the problem. The serpent is the devil, according to Revelations 12:9, sir. You don't know your Bible, Fred. If you were to look at that, then this is in reference to the dragon, Leviathan. The dragon in Revelations is in reference to the Leviathan, which is a 12-headed dragon from Ezekiel and Isaiah. So you might want to go read your Bible again. You might want to read it again. I don't think you know it. No, don't read it. You know what? Don't read it, Fred. Study it. Study it. See, when y'all just pick your Bible up and you just keep reading it over and over again, all you're doing is reaffirming what you already think it means. You need to study it, meaning, okay, Revelations 12, talking about the dragon, the serpent, and it says the ancient serpent of old. Let me go, what is this ancient serpent of old? Not the shit you've been preached at or what you already think is the serpent in the garden. No, but go research it and you'll find that what they're talking about is based on what Ezekiel was saying about the dragon, which is a 12-headed dragon, which is also the Leviathan. So go back, study it, stop reading it. So you got to do that. And they only thought the dragons existed because they found dinosaur bones. They only thought that giants existed because they found a big ass leg bone and didn't know that was the leg bone of a dinosaur, and thought that it was the leg bone of a person. So, oh, giants must have existed. So let's create a myth about how giants came into existence. Ah, the sons of God came down and they had sex with the daughters of men. And these were the great men of renown, the heroes of old. We need some Nephilim in the world today if they were great men of renown, heroes of old. Why drown them if they were great men of renown, heroes of old? Mm-hmm. We don't see that, but we need some. Dorian said he sent out a lot of invites and expect some Christians calling in. So set them up, knock them down. Lowe said, I believe that the authors of Revelations and the Jews at the time equated the serpent in Genesis as Satan. No, actually, they would not have. Well, you know what? Let me rephrase that. Because that was written around the end of the first century, in the first century, beginning of the second century, by John, who was supposedly on the Isle of Patmos. But the writer was actually quoting from like Ezekiel or Isaiah as far as this dragon with 7 heads. A average Jewish person at that time frame, since by that time frame they had developed the concept that the serpent, the dragon, the Leviathan, the Satan, Lucifer were all one being. The most lay person would have assumed that. This would be a illiterate person would have assumed that. But any person who was literate, any person who had studied under others who were literate in it would not have made that connection. They would have known he was talking about the 7-headed dragon. And we see this in today. The average churchgoer will say it is the serpent from the garden because they think the serpent from the garden is the devil. Even the literate church person will think it's the serpent for the devil because they will skip over mentally the aspect of the serpent in the garden wasn't created until after Adam was created. He said that was the funniest thing I've ever heard. Why drown them if they were heroes of old? I know, but I mean, think about it. The only thing that we know about the Nephilim, according to the Bible, was in your Bibles. And 99% of the Bibles says that the Nephilim were heroes of old, men of great renown, meaning they are men of great stories and reputation, great accomplishments. So if that's all we know about Nephilim. Everything else that people have come up with about the Nephilim comes from the books of Enoch, and then they also attach that to Og and Goliath, and there's two Goliaths in the Bible. They attach them to the two Goliaths and any other person that's a giant way after, way after. They're attached to other people. But as far as Genesis, the behavior of the giants, according to the Bible, they were great men. They were the heroes of old, great men of renown. We needed something then. God just killed them. Right? The flood in itself demonstrates how evil this God is. Right? You mean to tell me he flooded the whole world? How many babies did he kill? How many good men and women that were over here in the Americas did he kill that had no idea that he existed? Only because this guy's perception of man is that everything that comes from his heart is evil. That was his perception. Yet we know evil wasn't happening all over the world at that time frame. We have civilizations that demonstrates how people were flourishing, and a civilization cannot flourish if everyone is evil. If everyone is evil, it doesn't work. So I'm saying the flood in itself is an evil situation of God. There is no concept of America in the story. Of course, there's no concept of America. They didn't know America existed. They had no idea America existed. They thought the whole world was that little piece of land that they were living on, their little area of land, their little Mediterranean societies and Mesopotamian society. That was the whole world as far as they were concerned. They didn't know that there was people down in Africa, people over in India, people in Japan and China and in the Americas. But this guy flooded everybody. Killed everybody. Women, children, grandma, grandpa, all of them dead. Why? Because they don't believe in this God. Brandy, I wouldn't even waste your time talking to Fred about directing him to any other books, because Fred is only saying that just to get attention. Fred Adams, that is. Let's see what Jesus was there and saw Satan fall from heaven. So Anton Hughes said, another thing that's funny, Coach, how did Satan not know that Jesus was the Son of God? Oh, sorry, was the Son of God. If Jesus said he was there and saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning, wouldn't the devil have remembered him? You would think that he would have. Especially he would think he would have if he was there at the beginning. So obviously, either the devil is trying to play some mind games, which doesn't indicate that he is, or Jesus wasn't there in the beginning. That's just some shit that First John makes up. and Revelations makes up. Let's see what Isaac said here in this big storybook that Isaac wrote. The Leviathan can't be Satan either, because Yahweh describes the Leviathan as an actual living creature that breathes fire and smoke and is vulnerable to human weapons. It doesn't seem to have 12 heads either. I said 7. You should do a live on a video, You should do a live or a video on Job 41. It's about Yahweh telling Job not to challenge him. He can't beat the Leviathan, but Job can't. That he can beat the Leviathan, but Job can't. And until he can beat the Leviathan, he had no chance against Yahweh. So he can't be the serpent. Can't be the devil, nor can he be the serpent. And you notice how they're avoiding Job, because you cannot demonstrate that this God is good in the story of Job. Answer to the topic is God is just the answer to the topic is just God was good to Adam and Eve and everyone else in the scriptures. Maybe I'm not understanding. Oh, and then you said, yes, God was good to all of them. How was God good to Job? How was God good to Adam and Eve? See, you have no justification for that. Because if anybody were to do what this God allowed and commanded, I said both, the Sahasatan to do to Job, that is not a good God. How is killing Job's kids, but then replacing his kids good? I don't know if you've ever lost a child. I have not. Almost lost a child, but never lost a child. But if I had lost my child, having the next one does not make up for the loss of the child that I had, especially when the child has been a whole damn adult. No, it would never make up for the loss of that child. There's no way to make up for the loss of that child. And if I was doing everything that this God asked me to do, and then he just put all my shit on Front Street over a bet, nah. This God is not good. It's not a good God. And now I don't know the conversation that you're having, Brandon, with Fred, but he's saying that all the books you will give me on my beginnings, they will disagree with each other. You see, he is already demonstrating that it doesn't matter, even without cracking the book open, it won't matter what you give him, because it will not, he's already determined what the book is going to say. You're welcome, Kyle. I know, like Vale, Jackie said earlier that women have more respect for their bodies than men. What is the proof of that? What is the proof of that? Women have been held down by men in regards to their body. Women have been controlled by men in regards to their body. The fact that women back in the day weren't flinging it as often as men were flinging theirs is not an indicator of women having more respect for their body. It's an indicator of the community viewpoint on women, the pressure on women, the ostracizing of women, the domination over women, as to why you see less of that. It has nothing to do with the mentality of women. Right? If women never were under the same bullshit, under the bullshit of men, then women would, just as women are displaying their own sexual freedoms today, they would have been displaying their sexual freedom back. And some women did display their own sexual freedom because they were like, fuck you dudes. And let's be honest, a woman's body is more engineered to the pleasures of sex than a man. I'm straight jealous of a woman's body. Y'all be feeling shit that we can never feel. That shit wrong. That is just wrong as two left feet. The proof is because she's a woman. Y'all see this shit? Y'all see this shit? The proof is because she's a woman. That is not proof at all. Yeah, I just posted the link, Kyle. Because she's a woman. All right. All right. And sexuality is only one measure of a woman's respect for her body. Women will do drugs. Women will commit suicide. Women will do all the same bullshit. Women will, and don't y'all get mad at me, women will put food and shit in their body that they know they ain't supposed to be putting in their body just as quickly as a man would. I live here in San Antonio. I'm not body shaming. Live your body how you want your body to be and enjoy your body however your body is. But Charles Barkley had a good point. Charles Barkley had a good point. I thought he was just full of shit. And I was like, how this fat motherfucker gonna be talking about other people with his fat ass? You can't talk about other people you looking like the way you look. Your money don't make you better, right? But just a lot of people, money makes people better. But I gotta say, the people in San Antonio don't take care of their bodies at all, for the most part. This is in the city, you see active people, but this is not an active city. This is a sit around and eat fucking city. Just like I would tell people when they go to Atlanta, if you move to Atlanta, male or female, you are going to gain 25 pounds within the first 2 years. And usually happens in the first year in Atlanta because everything is centered around sitting your ass down and eat. All right. Truth Kings, yeah, I live in San Antonio. No, and that's the thing. Truth King says San Antonio is boring. No, the hell it's not. No, it is not. San Antonio is not boring. San Antonio has a lot to offer. A lot to offer. All right. These motherfuckers have a festival for everything. I swear to Bob. There is a festival. I almost feel like I'm living in Germany again. Where in Germany there's a festival for every goddamn month is a festival holiday. These jokers be festing, and I don't even know if that's a real word, but they be festing like a champ here in San Antonio. There's always some shit to do in San Antonio. Isaac, my man, unmute your mic.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hey, I just wanted to come on because go ahead.
Before you get started, the
Don't give me no
conversation.
shit.
No, I ain't gonna give you no shit. So I've been doing some research, and the conversation that we had on the phone like a week ago.
Yeah.
What I said, if you think about what I said about AI, after doing some research, double down on it, my man.
Okay.
Dig into that and double down on it.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
All right, go ahead. What you say?
I wanted to come up because I know you read my comment earlier about the Leviathan and Job 41, but I wanted to come on just to make that kind of clear. If anybody else was kind of wondering what exactly what that comment means. So when you look at the Leviathan and all of the little descriptions they have, throughout the Bible about the Leviathan, in Job 41, the Leviathan is actually a created being, a living creature. It's flesh and blood. It has like superpowers, like it breathes, smoke and fire, and it's invulnerable to human weapons. And it's supposed to be able to like bend, iron and bronze and stuff like that. So it's supposed to be the highest, according to Job 41, the highest level of creation that God made, even though the Bible also says that humans supposed to have dominion over all the animals, but it's an animal. And
Mhm.
also, so that therefore it can't be the Satan that's in Revelation. Another reason it can't be Satan, because we say that the Satan in the story of Job is Satan. And since those two characters are both in Job and they are very differently described, they can't be the same being. They're just mutually exclusive.
And I agree 100%. And then the description of the Leviathan changes.
Yeah.
In Job, the description of the Leviathan, he has one head. In Revelations and Psalms and Isaiah, he has seven.
Yeah. And also, the Bible says that Yahweh killed the Leviathan, but all of a sudden he pops up again in Revelation.
See, and that don't work. That simply does not work at all when people are making these statements. And that just shows how the Bible just contradicts itself because they can't get their story straight as far as what is what, because at different time frames, different authors are saying different things about these different animals or God or anyone else. They can't decide exactly what this thing really is because they're looking at it from different perspectives, going through different time frames of history. And like you said, he killed the Leviathan, but then Leviathan is back when it gets to Revelations. So you can't. So did he? Where does he resurrect him?
Yeah. And, I guess, kind of sticking to the topic about, if God was good to Adam and Eve, I look back at that story and there's no way that if you look at it rationally that you can come away from there thinking that God was good to Adam and Eve. And as you pointed out before, he put all those temptations in the way of Adam and Eve, who were just created, didn't have any knowledge of good and evil. And if any parent would, and some people have described, the tree, the fruit as poison, but let's say that if I agree that it's poison, if any parent would put their child before they learn right from wrong, before they knew that disobeying was a bad thing, if they put poison in arm's reach of that child and told that child not to eat that poison and didn't even give them the full context of what would happen after they ate the poison, you know, they don't know what death is. And even if they did know what death is, that's not what happened anyways. Any parent would go to prison for that. Like if any child ate poison because the parent sat it there and told them not to eat it, they would be locked up today.
Most certainly. Just like we see parents get locked up for leaving a gun out, right? Leaving a gun in with the accessibility of and a child have accessibility to it. We see parents get locked up for that today. So this God in the same framework should be locked up because he did not protect his children in the way that he should have protected his children.
Yeah. He's an awful parent. But while I have you, there's something else that I wanted to kind of bounce off some people. We don't have a lot of people to talk to about deconstructing. Like when we look at things in the Bible from, outside, we don't revere it. We don't shy away from thinking about things just because we think that, there's a sacredness to the Bible. But I was thinking, because the Bible always say that sin entered the world through Adam and Eve, and through sin, death. But then you think about it, who was actually the first sinner in the Bible? Because, if you think about it, if God created everything and everything is under his dominion, and if we assume that the rules are equal for all of his creations, then wouldn't the serpent be the first sinner?
Well, no, the serpent wouldn't be the first sinner. What did the serpent do? to sin. He didn't lie.
He didn't lie, but he did deceive.
How did he deceive?
It was deceptive because even though, like he said, they would become like the gods, that they would not die. He told the truth on that, but he knew that it wasn't a good thing for them to do that.
I mean, so okay, I can see what you're saying in the fact that he would have known that he was going against what this God is saying, what this God
Yes.
desires for, rather. And of course, anything that goes against this God desire is considered a sin.
Yeah.
I can see that. Lying by omission, by not saying that, well, yeah, you're gonna know the difference between good and evil, but then you're gonna get kicked out the garden, and this guy gonna be mad at you, and all this other bullshit. So I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I can see that one. I can see my way through that one. All right.
Yeah, and,
That,
and, and I would, of course I think about things, and it may be kind of, crazy sometimes the way I think about these things, but I was looking at it, I was like, well, yeah, to me, that means that the serpent is the first sinner, unless the serpent doesn't fall under the dominion of this God. So, and if that is the case, then what's the serpent? Is he not a created being? And I know it's all speculation, but some of these things pop in my head. I have like, I go down rabbit holes sometimes. But this is one of the ways that I deconstructed, because I was like, if this God wanted me to follow him, then this stuff would make sense, and it just doesn't.
well, I mean, the serpent is a created being, and it's not created until after Adam is created. Wait a minute. I got myself lost in what you were saying. Shit. I had a thought and it ran away from me. Say it again. I know people don't want to hear it again, but say it again.
Yeah, so I was saying that if the serpent, was the first sinner, or what
Mm-hmm.
we would consider the first sinner, but the sin didn't actually count, maybe that means that he's not under the regulations of God. Maybe he is not, part of God's dominion,
Well, the sin did
because
it did count because he got punished for it.
yeah, I guess he
And
did get punished for it.
he had legs, and now he ain't got legs no more. Now he got to crawl on his belly and eat
Yeah,
dust,
yeah, yeah,
literally and
you're right.
metaphorically.
I guess he did. He did. Yeah, you're right. He did get punished. He got he eat his dust, and he's getting stepped on.
But the first, hold on. But the first sin, would not tempting someone be a sin according to this God?
Yeah, tempting somebody to disobey God is a sin according to the Bible.
So then this guy putting that tree in the midst of the garden and making it look good for food and pleasant to the eye, wouldn't that be God tempting Adam and Eve?
I mean, I guess you could look at it that way, but the overarching idea of Christianity is God can do no wrong. So even if we think it's wrong because God did it, it's not wrong.
But yet it is, because here's the thing, and I was waiting for a Christian to bring this part up. I was saving, I had them in my pocket, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there since they seem scared. If we determine if we can determine when God is being good based on our own morality, then why can't we determine when a God is being bad based on our own morality? Is it not the same? It will be hypocritical to think otherwise, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, to me that makes sense, but I think to most Christians, and I thought this way when I was a Christian, is that we're not determining whether or not God is good. We are acknowledging that everything God does is good, even if we don't understand it. I think
So
that's how most Christians think, and that's how I thought too.
yeah, okay. I guess I never thought that way. I've always thought that if we determine what is good based on God, then we can determine what is wrong based on God. Based on
No, because that's how people justify genocides. Whenever you say God genocides, and like I said, I used to think this, but whenever you say God genocides, or you bring up that, God said we gotta, go in there and rip the fetuses out of the pregnant woman's womb, or when you say God, sent all those poisonous snakes to the desert and made those people either look up and live or look down and die. All of those things, you find a way to justify it in your head because you have to feel like everything God does is good. So you're gonna find a way to justify it because God is good all the time, and all the time God is good.
And that would be my point. You say what is good from God based on your morality. You say what is evil from God, what is bad from God. You just kind of make up some excuse to justify.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes down to your own personal justifications of it, if you want to be that blinded, which is why some idiots say that American slavery was good, because without that, then how would the black people from Africa known Jesus? So it was good. So I'm with you. They will make up a reason to justify all the bullshit.
Yeah. And I never understood that, because if there was a God and he came to me and said, hey, look, you were born, you got a family, you got a good life, but I can go back and erase transatlantic slavery, but you and all the people, all the people in your century would not be born. Would you want me to do that? And I would tell them, yeah, go back, because if I'm not born, I won't know anyway. So, to tell me that your ancestors were enslaved, they bled, they died, they were tortured, all for you to be here, that's ridiculous to me.
It is. It's dumb as hell. Yes. And to me, that makes this guy terrible, that you would set up a situation where that's going to happen and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And this Lowe just put a comment that I often hear from Christians or believers as well on TikTok, where he's saying that this is God's creation, so he has the right to do whatever he pleases. He decides what is good. And that to me is one of their other horrible arguments, because I created my children. Does that mean I have the right to do to what my children, whatever I choose to do to my children? Of course not. If I build a house in a neighborhood, it's my house. So do I have the right to just burn it down because I built it? It's my house, right? So when they make that argument, and I'm not saying that Lowe is making that argument, because Lowe he be jumping left and right, but and I don't think that is his argument anyway. But you don't have a right to do whatever you want to something because you think you created it. I don't even think this guy created it. That's why I wanted people to go into the Boltzmann brain and research the Boltzmann brain as a thought experiment. I don't know if you did. Did you look up Boltzmann brain? Did you research?
No, I haven't looked it up yet.
You're fired. For those who don't understand, Isaac gets, even though I praise Isaac a lot, Isaac gets a lot of crap from me because, I have invited Isaac to meet up so many times. He always got an excuse.
We're gonna meet up. We're gonna meet up. Trust me, whether you know it or not. And I'm not. And if you ever meet any,
and the one time Isaac invite me somewhere, he won't, knowing that I've said many times that my family goes away on our family vacation Labor Day weekend. He wanted to try to use Labor Day weekend, which I think was him saying, I'm going to invite him on a weekend that I know he can't come, so that it seems like I'm fulfilling my end of that bargain. Bullshit. Go ahead.
Nah, I consider myself to be a very intelligent man, but when you marry that with the level of honesty that I have, you would know that I can't do any underhanded, deceitful stuff like that. So you ain't got to ever worry about me plotting and planning, something like that. If I tell a lie today, I'll trap myself with it tomorrow. So
been here for a whole year. Ain't met up with Isaac yet. A whole year. And Isaac was instrumental in me moving here. Been here for a whole year. See how people get you somewhere and then they desert you.
Oh, I got you here.
See, Isaac got me here. If it wasn't for Isaac, I would have never moved to San Antonio. That's a lie. But
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I just wanted to come up and make sure that I kind of explain that, because I know sometimes the things that I put in there might be a little bit hard to decipher, but um, you know, I appreciate your show and I appreciate you doing this, because there are not a lot of people in this realm that can actually have these kinds of shows. And one of the reasons that I appreciate you being here is because I know you sometimes tell people that I'm an insurance agent. I used to be. I have an actual corporate job now. But when I was out there being an insurance agent, and you go out, you network, and you meet people, and do you know what was either the first or second question I always got asked when I met a new potential or prospective client or a business partner?
No, please don't tell me they asked you that question.
Yes. Oh, and you know what question it is, huh?
Are you a believer? Or what church you go to?
What church you go to? Do you have a church home?
Oh my God.
And I do believe that I lost out, because I got to be honest. Like, no, I don't do that. I do believe that I lost out on a lot of
Probably.
clients and money because I answered that question
Probably.
honestly, and people didn't hear from them anymore. But I appreciate you doing this. I do really honestly want to get together and sit down with you and talk and have fun or whatever we do. So, don't think that I am like putting you off or avoiding you. It's nothing like that. It just hasn't lined up yet.
Whole year it ain't lined up yet. Okay. I ain't
You know
believing it.
what? In God's timing, in God's timing.
Man, get the hell off my channel.
All right, have a good day.
You have a good one. Oh, that bullshit. I'm gonna kick out his ass as soon as I see him, if I ever see him. Right before I bring Kyle up, somebody posted over here on TikTok saying that Isaiah, what they say, Isaiah something. I'm bringing up in just a second, Kyle. I ain't even gonna spill on this one too long. Isaiah 27:1 is an end time prophecy. Absolutely not. And that Isaiah 27:1 is Satan. Absolutely not. Isaiah 27:1 is talking about the Leviathan. This is Isaiah prophesizing about how the children of Israel will find their redemption from the Assyrian and Babylonian captivity that they was under. And the Leviathan is a metaphor for those Assyrians and for the Assyrians and the Babylonians, which is why this guy said that he will kill the Leviathan that lives in the sea. So, and the Leviathan that is in Revelations, he falls from the sky to the earth, not into the sea. So you might want to read it again with historical context. What up, Kyle?
Hey, sir, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
So I just want to answer the question, was God good to Job, Adam and Eve, or non-Israelites? I'm gonna be honest with you. This is where I want to say thank you. I've watched a lot of your videos over the last year.
Oh,
Man, man, you wake me up to reality. You wake me up to how things are. I've had my questions. I actually started to deconstruct from Christianity in 2021. That was right during COVID time. Time was tough. Time was rough for everybody. And I started to deconstruct because I was going through some rough times myself. And there was just some things that were going down that I just wasn't liking, which led me into a lot of the stuff that you have said. I have thought about, and it's just like a lot of the things you said, like I'm hearing my thoughts. Like, what is going on? Like, I'm hearing, and you're not the only deconstructionist that I know about. But a lot of these people that are deconstructing are saying a lot of my thoughts that I had against this Bible. I'm like, are people reading my mind? I thought I was crazy. I thought I was the only one. And you said a lot. Man, I can go back to some of your videos and how you said that Christianity was such a waste because of how they do certain things. And, it doesn't really benefit the community as much. And I'm just like, I thought the same thing. This is such a waste of time. But to answer the question, was God good to Job, Adam and Eve, or non-Israelites? I'm going to be honest. We're going to start with Job. I'm going to make this quick because I can't stay long.
All right.
But Personally, no. I'd be at work sometimes, you know, and I just get frustrated just I'm thinking about the Bible all day, right? Because I'm still in my heart somewhat of a Christian. And I'm just thinking to myself, God was kind of an asshole to Job concerning this situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did Job's kids have to do with this? Why did he kill his children? You know what I'm saying? And why didn't God just flat out answer his question and say, hey, me and Satan had a bet? You know what I'm saying? And why didn't God just answer his question right then and there? Why give the ring around the rosy and just not answer his question? I'm like, that's kind of rude and disrespectful. And then all of this random stuff. Apparently, Job did no sin according to how the book is laid out. If I read it correctly, Job didn't really do anything. And in that story, I noticed that Job had a lot of friends. That Job had some friends that made some false accusations about what possibly could have happened. And I
Right.
thought to myself, that's happened to me a few times in church and out of church. And so I'm gonna say no. I don't think he was a good guy to Job. You don't put your best servant under circumstances, basically betting that my servant Job is not going to do he's not going to turn against me. He's going to stick with me no matter what. And I noticed it was Job. He didn't pick anybody else. He picked specifically Job. And I'm just thinking to myself, I mean, I can understand taking away the cattle. I can understand taking away the farm, the house, the everything. I don't understand killing the kids. Those are human beings. You leave kids out of this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? You don't put children in the middle of this. Is you're killing innocent people just to see if someone is going to. Basically, I don't know if I mean you. I heard you grew up in Atlanta,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you've ever been through this. I believe you were in the military. I was in the military myself. Um, they would have this thing. They would pick on you just to see if you'll crack,
Right.
right? They have this thing where they'll mess with you and they'll just see if you're, what you gonna do or something like that. And I kind of feel like this is what God did with Job, along with other people in the Bible as well. He was poking at him, and just to see if just to see if they were gonna crack or not. He was poking at him just to see, you know what I'm saying? Now God obviously had confidence, obviously, that Job wasn't gonna do anything. He knew Job wasn't gonna do anything to begin with. But once again, we're talking about an Almighty God here. You know, again, it when it comes to him killing the kids, and I think some of his servants were killed too in that book. And
Mhm.
it's like, why are we killing innocent people? Why are we killing people that has nothing to do with this, just to prove something? You know, and and I think Job, personally, this is my opinion. This is not biblically backed up, but I think, in my personal opinion, Job was not too far away from stepping away. I think God stopped it just in time, because I do believe that, as I read it over and over, Job might have came close
Yeah.
to
You
saying,
did.
"Okay, I'm done. This is it. You're doing too much, buddy. You took away my kids, took away my servants, took away my pigs, my animals, my farm. Got all these robbers coming over here, and you put a bunch of balls all over my damn body. Yeah, go find somebody else. I just want to live a normal, average life." That's my opinion. So I'm gonna say that, man, no good God would toy like that. You know what I'm saying? This Satan, you kicked him out of heaven. It's in the book of Revelation that Satan got into a fight with Michael the archangel and the third of angels. I could be wrong on that, but they read this in church one time. And when they read that in church, that's when I was like, what the hell? Wait a minute. Satan got kicked out of heaven by Michael the archangel. It's in Revelation 12 or something. But I remember one of my preachers reading that. And I said, wait a minute, he was kicked out of, and this was before I met you. I was still in my own little personal process of deconstructing. And then one of the ladies read that was teaching us. And she said that in Revelation, Satan got into a war with Michael the archangel. He was kicked out of heaven, basically the third of angels, and that's how we got Satan, and the third of angels was kicked out of heaven thanks to Mike Angel and his army. They had a war in heaven, and that's how Satan ended up down here.
Uh,
And
Nah, they mixing two stories together, and Revelations is kind of quoting the book of Enoch. So in Revelations, so let me put it this way. Revelations has Michael fighting the dragon, right? And the dragon's tail sweeps out a third of the stars, right? So they're relating the stars to angels falling, and those stars fell to earth. And so that's where they relate that. But this is all happening in Revelations. This is supposed to be an end time thing. And the dragon is not the Satan, because the idea that Satan is already here, the war had already happened before this earth was created. That comes from the book of Enoch. So when they say that the devil has already fought, there's already been a war in heaven, and he was already cast down to earth, that's pre-Genesis. That's a pre-Genesis event. Revelation is a post-Jesus return event. So they can't be the same because they're two separate events.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Like I said, I heard it in Revelation. I mean, I'm not going to read it. I mean, I don't have time to read it. But I think it's in Revelations. I can't remember. But somebody read it to me.
It's Revelation 7 where it talks about Michael fighting the dragon.
Okay.
Problem is that they merged the dragon in from 2nd century BCE to 1st century CE. The Jews merged them together, and then in 1st century CE, where the Jews merged all the Old Testament ideas of Satan, Leviathan, and serpent into one being. And then the Christians in 1st century, in the latter half of 1st century, then took those same entities from the Old Testament and merged them with the dragon of Revelation.
That's another reason I love about you, man. I love this BCE talk that you keep giving. I love it, man. You really dug into your history, and that's what I love about you, man. You dig into your history, and see, and any Christian that comes up and tries to challenge you is just, I mean, they're a goner, if you ask me. And that's what I love about you, man. You really dove into this. You know what I'm saying? And I did this out of, I mean, you know, and I'm just like you. I started my deconstructing technically when I was 28 at the time. And I deconstructed though because times were just difficult for me and times were hard, and I felt like certain prayers weren't getting answered and stuff like that, and a little bit of church hurt. But hey, nonetheless, I found out a lot of truth to you know, a lot of my thoughts. The next question was, God good to Adam and Eve? No, I'm a straight up say no on that one. Okay, I tell people this all the time. Imagine having a child. Okay, you're a parent. You have kids. You're a parent. You put a loaded pistol. The safety is off. You put a loaded pistol on the dining room, living room table, where the 5-year-old is most of the time, because that's where I think a lot of 5-year-olds they spend. I don't know where you had your 5-year-olds when they were 5, but you know, most of them spent their time in the. Well, I spent my time in the dining rooms when I was a kid. So my parent, my mom or dad, puts a loaded pistol on the dining room table. Safety is off. Kyle, you bet not touch that pistol. But I, as a parent, know that my son is not going to listen. Okay. So I put the pistol there as a parent anyway, or, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I walk away and I just go read the newspaper, go to the bathroom, I put this pistol on the dining room table where you clearly like to be at all the time as a 5-year-old kid that I tell you not to touch it. But I know you're going to. And I still walk away as a parent. I pick up the pistol, start playing with it. It goes off. It might even hit me. Right? So, and then the parent comes back and says, after you knew that my 5-year-old self was not going to, after you knew that I was going to pick this up, you still left it there, knowing that I was 5 years old. I don't listen to you when you say don't touch the bananas on the table. I don't listen to you when you say don't touch the wine or whatever else, but you put this gun on the table and you expect me not to touch the weapon that you just clearly said not to touch. And I'm 5 years old. My mind, I don't know any better, right? I don't know good from evil. I'm 5 years old. I'm still learning how to piss and how to, you know, do it on the toilet. So of course, I mean, so I picked this gun up. It goes off in the house, and you just said that they created a law, you know, and that rightfully so, that, you know, if you leave a weapon open while there's kids, you can go to jail. I agree with that. So, you know, my whole thing is this God is an all-knowing God, but yet he knew Adam and Eve was going to do what they did before they actually did it, and yet still put the fruit, still put, people say it's an apple, it could have been anything, could have been a pear, whatever. It says fruit, doesn't really say apple. I don't
Definitely
think
wasn't. And matter of fact, it definitely wasn't an apple. That's just a
no.
mistranslation from the. That's just a
Yeah.
translation. It's an adopted translation from a Latin word
Mhm.
for apple, which is I think is like malu, and then
Mhm.
the Aramaic, the Hebrew word, the Proto-Hebrew word for apple is similar to malu, and
Okay.
so it's mixed it up that way.
Yeah, but so you put this tree, so you put this thing in there, you know they're going to eat it, you know they're going to not listen to you, you know they're going to do it anyway, yet you get mad and upset that they actually did something that you knew they were going to do in the first place. Oh, and that crafty snake, whatever he was, you say it, some say it's Satan, some say it's just a regular serpent. You created this crafty animal or whatever this thing is to basically convince dummies not to, or basically same thing, same scenario. I'm 5 years old, pistol. You have this crafty, let's just say a crafty monkey, right? Tells me, Kyle, pick up that pistol. Just trust me, dude. It's gonna be so cool. I do it anyway. Listen to the damn monkey, right? Who's more obviously more smarter than I am. Then you get mad at me, and I get in trouble. You knew this was all going to go down before it went down. I tell people all the time, God gave us, they tell me that God gave us free will, God gave us choice and everything, and we chose to abuse it. Yeah, but God knew that we were going to abuse that choice before he even gave it to us.
I mean, think about it like this. I know people keep on thinking that, oh, these were adults, these were adults. These were adults with childlike minds because they don't know the difference between good and evil. So it doesn't matter if you're an adult. I got an adult nephew who has severe autism. He doesn't know the difference between good and evil.
Yeah.
And that joke is like 30 something years old. So they wouldn't know the difference. Now imagine if you, instead of the dining room table, you put the gun in the child's room, right? They got all their toys. All their toys look good for fun, right? And the gun is sitting there. The gun also looks good for fun. And then the serpent will be represented by, but you're letting your child watch G.I. Joe or the Transformers. And all they're doing in G.I. Joe and the Transformers, I'm talking about the cartoons back in my day, all they're doing is shooting at each other. But no
Playing
one
James Bond.
because every episode, Megatron is still there, Optimus Prime is still there, Cobra and Geo and Joe are still there. All this damn shooting, nobody dies. If they watch Elmer Fudd, they get shot all the time, and then the face get blown off a little bit. Then he turned around. Next episode, they back again. So a child is like, gun looks good for fun, and every time I see it on TV, the TV is telling me that you won't die if you shoot somebody.
Or cartoons,
Yeah,
Bugs
and
Bunny
so
and
the difference between good and evil, you're gonna be like, I can't pick up this gun. I can shoot people because no one dies. There's no damage.
I think it was a little bit worse for my generation because obviously I'm 32 years old, so I was born in the 90s.
Oh, shit.
I don't know if you remember this. Obviously, you were an adult. I think my generation had it worse because we were playing.
This man just came on here and called me old. I said, this
I
man
don't.
came on here and told me I could be his daddy, which I couldn't.
Yeah, you are old enough to be my father. Believe it or not,
Just keep moving. Just keep moving.
yeah, man. I love it. I love it, man. But in the 90s, they had these games come out, and they still do now. James Bond. What's another good shooting game? Anyways, James Bond. Okay.
Yeah.
Used to play that a lot when I was a kid. They would have it to where you die, come back to life, die, come back to life. So in my case, I'm thinking I can die and come back to life like an idiot, right? These are all things that as a child, there was a lot of things that I wish I would have not done because it did teach a little bit of, it did teach me some stuff that I wish I hadn't learned.
Right.
Every day I'm trying to unlearn that every single day, along with Christianity, which brings me to the last question. Was God good to non-Israelites? No. Leviticus 25. Matter of fact, I will say this. I went to a Bible study. Was it last Friday? I kind of got into a little semi-debate. I was the only black person there, by the way. No, I don't mean to be racist. I'm not a racist person. I like all people. I like all colors. I like all ethnicities. I'm a everybody's guy. Okay, but ironically, as opposed to this situation, I had to bring that in because I had to kind of go back and forth with some people up in that Bible study concerning the fact that, because I thought about you and I thought about what you said before I went to this Bible study. I wasn't going with the purpose to argue. I wasn't going with the purpose to deconstruct anybody. I was really just going to listen, shut my mouth, and if I disagree, just keep it to yourself. And I'm not there to deconstruct. I'm there to just be in community, to be honest. I'm not really there for the word like I used to be. But this individual tried to say that God was going to, that God wanted slaves to be free and so on and so forth. God basically wanted freedom for all slaves. I said, no, that's not the case. It's even in your Bible that that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? Because God actually did not, you pointed this out and I've kept it in me ever since. The foreign slayers, which were the non-Israelites, they did not have, they were basically, they could be passed down for inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
Once I read that, and I'm like, do a lot of people know that? See, my whole thing is this: if God really wanted to if you want to get rid of slavery, you don't give rules. If you were against slavery, you don't give rules to, you know what I'm saying? You are God. You can do anything. If he was really against slavery, don't give rules supporting something that you don't like.
And or
Okay.
command it.
Exactly.
With
Don't
Joshua,
get rules. If you want it gone, get rid of it. Say, hey, no slaves unless you're in trouble or unless you're in trouble because you did something or whatever the case may be. And even then, I still prefer no slavery. I mean, anything to help you learn your lesson.
right?
But
Which is
you know
the
what I'm saying? But
servitude that he did with the Israelites.
yeah, he said that we can pass them down to inheritance, which leads me to one more thing. Then I got to hurry up and get out of here. We are technically still under the law. And you pointed that out. Other deconstructionists pointed this out, but they all pointed this out. Paul is a false apostle. Now, I like the fact that he taught certain things, and I do agree with some of the things that he said concerning the brotherhood. But if we're going to really put what Jesus said, we are technically still under law, which means that slavery is technically still under effect under Christianity. And so it's just, I can't, again, many Christians will defend this Bible and they will say that God is good and God is just. God can do anything he wants. I'm sorry, there's nothing just about killing innocent people who had nothing to do with a certain situation. You pointed this out in David, how when David screwed up, other people had to die and get in trouble. Also, you did not bring up, but I want to talk real quick. Joshua, I think it's 12, where a woman was killed, basically, but she was raped, and I think she was killed in the book of Joshua by the so-called holy person. I forget the chapter, but it's in Joshua somewhere. What I did not like about that book was God told that because of that woman being raped, they wanted to go to war for it. And God told him 3 times, go to war 3 times, and he decided not to do anything until the 3rd time. And I'm just like, why didn't you do anything the first time? Why did we have to lose 70,000 men before you finally decide to do something? That's just stupid. Don't tell me to go do something, and then I lose 3,000 people every time I go, and then you wait until the last minute to do something. That doesn't make sense to me.
Actually, I did talk about it. I've done multiple videos on it. I did a live on it. It's Judges 19. So you start in Judges 19, and Judges, it goes all the way to like Judges 26 or something like that. It starts out with them replicating the Lot story where the man comes into the town because his concubine ran away. So he goes to get his concubine, but his dad is trying to father-in-law trying to keep him there. And then he finally gets the woman, they leave, they go to the town. Some old man said, come sleep in my house. But all the men of the town all these Benjamites want to come and get this man Pum Pum. Well, get his boom boom because he ain't got a boom boom. And then he gives the concubine to him, and they rape the concubine until she dies, and then he cuts her up, sends her out to the 12 tribes. They have a big meeting, and then after the meeting, that's when they go and they fight. And this guy's like,
yeah,
yeah,
what is that about? Like, I had to read that, and I'm like, what the hell? What is this? Why did she have to get cut up? That just, I mean, that's another thing you pointed out that I'm glad you did.
To save the man from being SA'd by all the men of the town of, I think it's the town of Galilee.
And you know what's funny is this Bible does disrespect women, and women are the biggest ones that will advocate for it. I don't get it.
Yeah,
they will advocate for this stuff. So I mean, I'm still, like I said, man. I watch your live. I learned a lot from you. You spoke to me. You're like an angel almost to me. I mean, of course, I have some disagreements on certain things, but for the most part, I love listening to you. I love your lives. You talk about stuff that you're so logical. You know what I'm saying? There's other deconstructionists, but you are logical. And all of you guys are logical in your thinking. You're logical in your speaking. You know what I'm saying? I did say that if I end up never leaving Christianity just because my heart is just so invested into it, at least I get to go back in. At least I get to stay in it with. I get to have a logical mindset towards this thing. So when something sounds stupid to me, it's just simple. I'm not doing it. It's just simple. I'm not following it.
What branch of service did you serve in?
Marines.
Oh, Simplified, Devil Dog.
Simplified.
All right. So you should definitely understand this concept then. So because I know you're now going to go back and read Judges 19 and continue reading it.
Right.
When you read it, what you're going to realize that is not the superstition of this guy told us to go fight and we died. This guy told us to go fight. That it is the superstition. Sorry, it's the made up story. When you read the stories, if you notice, it says that the Benjamites from Galilee, they had like a certain number of slingers. And when they went out to fight the other Israelites, those slingers was wearing their ass out, and that's why they kept dying. So artillery, an artillery bombardment over infantry troops, you're going to kill a lot of them bastards before they get a chance to really get at you.
Yeah,
and that's when you take away the superstition and you think about it from the military terms of it, you can understand how they got their ass whooped. But they create this whole mythos with this God to try to justify why they got their ass whooped and lost 70,000 people.
You see, when I was in the military, when I was a Marine, I used to, just like you, I used to pray all the time. I used to get on my knees all the time. I would wake up early in the morning, go pray, read a scripture. I was a motor T. I was a motor transportational operator. I was stationed in Cherry Point, North Carolina, and I would wake up every morning. And before I would get to work to my duty station early before the other Marines. And what I would do is I would walk around and I would just pray and speak to the Lord, and so on and so forth. That's what I used to do. One day I had said to myself, I don't know if I would give my life for you, God. And at that time I was, and because I had to think about a lot of what I was giving up my life for. I was already giving up for the country, but to give it up for God. And as time went on, I came out with some issues that I'm still working on myself. I'm still trying to get myself together, because I fell under serious depression and I was going to church at the time. And this is where I experienced church hurt. And then that's another wake up call. Church is nothing but a system. It's nothing but a cult. And I honestly think that this God that was created was mostly created for the white people. I hate to say that, but that's just my opinion. You can disagree if you like.
Now, it evolved into for the ones. It's created for whoever's in. It was originally created for the Israelite people,
right?
And then it was molded for the Romans to control people. So, and that thus becomes the Europeans. So I can roll with you through that pathway.
Yeah.
But I got two questions for you. I know you got to go.
Go ahead.
They ain't got shit to do with what we're talking about.
Go ahead.
Do you have your 100%?
Disability.
Hell yeah. VA.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm not. I feel like there's other veterans that deserve it more than me. So
Oh,
I get benefits, and I'm fine with those benefits.
you and Brandon getting on my nerve.
I
Brandon,
mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm okay with what I have.
it ain't
I'm,
like they go. It is you getting 100% doesn't take away from somebody else getting 100%. It's not like a scale of we can only give this number of people 100%.
yeah,
Right.
I understand.
And
It's
then
just
you
there's
deployed, right?
huh?
You deployed in your life. You ever
I
deployed?
did not see. That's another reason I didn't really deploy. That's why I said I feel like veterans. There are veterans out there
But
that deserve more than me.
I can still get you there, and it's not about you deserve it because you was in, and I know what you have went through. I know the training, just the training you went through.
Oh yeah, the training alone gives you PTSD. The training, especially how they did me, man. They threw me up against the wall. They threatened me with a wrench. I mean, I don't want to get in too much into that,
Dude,
but
you better
yeah.
hit me up, message me because your ass needs to get 100%. I'm gonna
Well,
convince you.
I thought about meeting you in person in San Antonio one day when I come out there.
But come on,
So yeah,
if
yeah.
you
I
don't
mean,
do this, I'm gonna fight you. I'm telling you right now. And although we had some of the same training, I had more training than you. I would kick your ass.
you see what I'm saying? That's why I feel like guys like you deserve. Like I said, I'm fine with what I have. But what's your next question?
No, you're not fine with what you got. What percentage you at?
I think I'm at a 0 to 10. I have enough to get some free health care. So I'm good. I'm good with that, man. I'm good with that.
You just don't want to wake up on the first of the month and have $4,000 in your account.
Listen, look, man. There are veterans who I feel like they deserve that more than me.
I'm gonna fight this man.
I am okay with where I'm at. I am totally fine.
You giving me heart palpitations right now.
Matter of fact, I think I'm like I said, I'm fine. I mean,
The problem is
okay.
you got a good job, don't you?
Huh?
You got a good job, don't you?
It pays the bills.
And see, when I was making six figures as an IT person, I kept telling my brother, oh, I don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm making, 180. I don't need to worry about that.
Yeah. I got good health insurance too at my job. So
yeah, and you're paying for it. You could be getting it for free.
Yeah, well, like I said, because I'm on the. I think I haven't checked it, but I'm on a 0 to 10. I think 10. I think on 10 you do get paid, but I haven't checked anything like that.
It's like $180. This is $180 gas money. $180.
Yeah, that's fine with me. But I think if you're at least 0, then you can still get VA health benefits. It's just not.
Will kill you. You have kids?
No, I'm single.
Do you want to have kids?
Oh, I would love to have children. I have been looking for.
At 100%, your kids will get a stipend every month that they are in school.
Okay, all right. If I have kids, I'll look into that.
And right now, but you got to be 100% to get it for your kids to get it.
Yeah.
So to hell with you, do it for your kids.
Okay, yeah, I gotta have them first. I mean, you know what? And that's another thing. Before I get out of here, you have a channel talking about women and how to date. That is something I want to look into too, because I think you're realistic, man. I love the realistic seat, and you're realistic. You really are. But anyways, I got to get out of here. You will see me.
And it's in line. So I posted the channel name. It's Lorenzo 369. I just posted that. This really, I'm messing with my wife on this one. So you're single, right?
Single.
Where you at?
Michigan.
In Michigan. All right. We got a daughter for you. Yeah. She about to.
Is she over 21? She has to be over. Is she over 25? Better yet.
Oh no, the two I'm thinking about. We got two actually that are single.
Okay.
They're both. I think they both turned 30 this year.
Okay.
No,
as long as they're over 18, 21 legally. I mean, I know you wouldn't do that, but yeah, what
industry you in?
Huh?
What industry you in?
Industry. You mean job?
Yeah.
I work at I try not to Costco. I work at Costco.
Okay, all right. Because you know we got one. She's in IT. The other one is an airline stewardess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my wife. I just put her little laughing up there.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I love it. Like I said, you're realistic, man.
Whatever you trying to say, Angelina, he looked like one of the ones. He looked like Tahira's type, even though he is Sydney's type as well.
Yeah.
He
Like I
looked
said, you're realistic, man. I love your realistic. So you will see me again. I just don't know when. But
okay.
I always watch your videos. You say some great stuff. I take it to work with me. I take it home. I take it everywhere. So thank you. Let me get off for now. If you're still on, by the time I'll get done doing what I'm doing, you'll see me tune back in. Okay.
All right. Appreciate you. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
You have a good one. Send the info. This is my You see, hey Kyle, you see my wife said send the info, she'll share it. Look, I ain't trying to play matchmaker, but I am. But only when it's concerning my daughters. See, I gotta make sure the girls in the relationship got a good man. Definitely not a Christian man, because that ain't gonna work with either of our daughters, because they would not go with a Christian man. That ain't gonna work with our kids. But yeah, Kyle need to get that 100%. He fucking around. He fucking around. I know, right? He trying to be acting all humble and shit and patient. Oh, so he want to have kids. So Tahira wouldn't work, Angelina. Tahira wouldn't work because Tahira is not gonna have. Tahira don't want to have kids. But Sydney, that'll work with Sid. Sid, they'll work. Detroit to Atlanta, Atlanta to Detroit. They got Costco in Atlanta. Oh, but he brought up a good point, and I thought about a scenario that makes sense to me. So it's like when he was talking about how Job was doing the thing with the Satan, and Job and this guy could have just went and said something to Job, saying that, hey, I was having this bet with the Satan, right? It reminded me, yeah, that's what I was saying, Angelina, number 3. We give our kids, we got 5 of them, so they're listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how we talk about it. Yeah, him and 3 would be good. So the Satan, I mean, this guy and his dealings with Job, right? When you contemplate it, it reminded me of how drill instructors in Marine Corps boot camp are more provide more justice and was better to us in boot camp than this guy. Whether we're talking about non-Israelites as well as in the story of Job. So, for an example, in boot camp, I was a squad leader. Now, because I was a squad leader, I was told that if my squad does something jacked up, I have to be punished for it. But other than that, you was never punished for anything in boot camp. Well, I was never punished in anything for boot camp, and I never seen anybody get punished for anything in boot camp where they didn't violate a rule or a teaching that you was given. And although some of them were stupid, you didn't get punished unless you violated. For instance, when you're standing at attention, especially in Paris Island, there are sand fleas everywhere. If you kill a sand flea, like swipe at your ear because a sand flea got in your ear when you're supposed to be in attention, so you ain't supposed to move, then they will punish you by making you do exercises or making you crawl along the ground and find the sand flea. And they'll be like, it was a female. If you don't find that female sand flea, you got 10, 9, 8, 7. And if you don't find it, then they take you to the pit and dig the shit out of you, right? That teaching that conformity. But you had to do something. They didn't just walk up to you and just put you in the pit, right? That didn't happen 99.9% of the time. If you don't do something to cause your infliction, you don't get punished. Whereas in the Bible, with the story of Job, it starts out in chapter 1 by saying that Job was blameless. Blameless. So if the man was blameless and then he goes through all these punishments, a Marine Corps drill instructor shows more love, shows more justice than this guy. And I know some of y'all may have been in the Army or Air Force or the Navy or even the Coast Guard and Space Force. But y'all know Marine Corps drill instructors got problems, right? They're a little crazy. They got issues. They got serious issues. You got to have some issues to be a Marine Corps general, right? But they will treat you with more justice than Job was treated in the Bible. Like even when my whole squad get punished, especially because there's these two dudes in my damn squad used to fuck up all the time. I was the only one, because I was a squad leader, that would get punished at the same level that the two jokers who messed up. But if the rest of the squad was also being punished because of what them other two dudes would do, they would get let off the punishment long before the person who did the thing would get punished. And I just had to get punished the whole time, and then extra because I was their squad leader. But that is more justice than what happened in the story of Job. But most of the time, like I said, you were not blameless for the punishment you received, yet Job was said to be blameless, yet he received all of this punishment. And Nub's Revenge said if Job was blameless, that would put him at the same level as Christ and defeat the whole Christian religion, which it does. And it says that he is blameless. Let me because I had brought it up earlier. Job 1, chapter 1. It starts out, there was once a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. That man was blameless and upright, who feared God and turned away from evil. That's what it says. That's what the Bible says. That's what the Bible says. Lois using the Christian thing, and Christians have said that one to me, Lo, that God is good in Job because God gave Job back more than what he had. But here's the problem with giving back more than what he had. If we were just talking about some animals, we were just talking about some land, we were just talking about some crops, that's fine. But as chapter 2 says, there were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. 7 sons and 3 daughters. That's 10 children. You can replace the 700,000 sheep, the 3,000 camels, the 500 yokes of oxen, the 500 donkeys, and very many servants. Well, you can't replace them. So this man was the greatest of all the people of the East. You can't replace the 10 children. You can't replace the lives of the servants. And mind you, this is saying servants. This is not saying slaves. So in any case, this is probably other Israelites who are his servants, right? So it's not indicating that he owned slaves, but servants. They cannot be replaced. Let me skip ahead. Let me skip ahead to where he started getting his replacements. Let me skip ahead here. Get past him getting cussed out by this guy. And then all his so-called friends telling him he needs to repent. And I can understand his friends telling him that he needs to repent, because to his friends, he's like, the friends would be like, dude, you had to have been doing something in order for all this shit to happen to you. I mean, we know who you are, but there must be something, because it's illogical to even his friends who come and try to talk to him that all of this stuff is happening to Job, right? It wouldn't make sense to his friends. Because they are believers in this God as well. They believe that this guy wouldn't do all this shit to Job if Job had not transgressed in some form or fashion. But so their replies to Job are valid in them saying that he must have done something. God damn, how many chapters is Job? I'm just clicking chapter to chapter, trying to get to the end when he gets all his kids. When he gets some kids. This is why I say if you watch Bad Omen, bad omen makes more sense in the Job story uh, than the Bible does. Lowe said that people have been trying to use the story of Job to make me be cool with leaving my children a bunch. Man, if somebody tried to justify me leaving my kids, they might catch some hands. You can never justify me leaving my children, which is why after me and their mom divorced, I stayed in Atlanta, even though I didn't want to stay in Atlanta. But there's no way in hell I was going to leave my children. That wasn't happening. Damn, how many chapters is Job? I was looking for where Job got his kids back. I didn't see it. Let me see if some of y'all have posted it here. I know I haven't been able to see what you guys have been saying. God gave them all back with new children as if he didn't love his original children and mourn their loss as a father. Yeah. Let me just do a search real quick. Chapter 42 of Job. I like how people are like, yes, go to the end, sir. Like that's going to make a difference. Going to the end does not justify the bullshit. Job's friends are humiliated. Job's fortune restored. Okay. The Lord restored the fortunes of Job when he had prayed for his friends, and the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Then there came to him all the brothers and sisters who and all who had known him before, and they ate bread with him, and in the house they showed him sympathy and comforted him for all the evil that the Lord had brought upon him. They comforted him for all the evil that the Lord had brought upon him. Isn't that interesting that the Lord, all caps, had brought upon him? And each of them gave a piece of money and a gold ring, and the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than the beginning, and he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yokes of oxen, and 1,000 donkeys. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He named the first Jeremiah, the second, yada, yada, yada. Of course, they don't name all of them, nor do they name the daughters at all. In all the land, there was no woman so beautiful as Job's daughters. And sorry, that just made me laugh for no reason. There were no other women so beautiful as Job's daughters, and their father gave them an inheritance along with their brothers. After this, Job lived 140 years and saw his children and children's children, 4 generations, and Job died of old and full of days. So he lived past 120, which is what was supposed to be the cutoff date. You said actually the daughters are named. Nope. In this one, he says he names his first Jeremiah, the second Kiza, and the third Karen Hapuch. And it doesn't name the daughters. And so unless it's in a midrash or in a book that is not part of the Torah, his daughters are not named. Oh, he also had 3 daughters. He named the first Jemima. Oh, these are the girls' names. Sorry, you're right. My bad. My bad. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, Lo. These are the names of the daughters, and and it's talking about the daughters because it was so beautiful. My bad. You're right. You got it. Now you see how I did that. I said something wrong. Lo corrected me, and I just accept the correction and go back and look at it and say, you know what, you're right. Why can't you Christians do that? Why can't the Bible believers do that? And the reason, no, I'm not gonna bring that up because that'll take it into a whole other conversation that I'm not going into. Oh, nah, for those who don't know, if in Masonry, there are chapters for children of Masons, and the girls are called Job's daughter. The girls' organization for the fathers of Masons, for Masons, for their fathers who are Masons, is called Job's daughter. That's why I laughed at that, because it just reminded me of that. I don't want y'all thinking I'm laughing at y'all, I'm laughing at something else. But you notice how it tells you that I didn't even think about the fact that it says that all the evil that this God, that the Lord had brought upon him, right? Because it wasn't the Satan. The Satan was just the instrument. It was this God that determined that Job should go through all this bullshit based on a bet that had there's no rationale for this bet. There's zero rationale for Job to have gone through this whole situation, and especially if he was blameless and upright, that he turned from evil. In the same way this God tells Cain, sin crouches at your door, but you have the power to overcome it. You see, all you Jesus believers, you don't think that you have the power to overcome whatever sins that you think you have to deal with, right? But you can take that into the other aspects of your life. If you got problems with alcoholism, you don't need Jesus. You can do it yourself. If you have problem with sex, you don't need Jesus. You can do it yourself. If you have problems with drugs, you don't need Jesus. You can do it yourself. If you have a problem within a relationship, you don't need Jesus. You can do it yourself. Like, you don't need Jesus for nothing, according to your own Bible. You can do it yourself. So you don't need him. He's useless. Your God and Jesus are useless. I'm not calling you by that name, so you can cancel that one.
Well, according to the Christian Bible is what I'm saying.
Right.
You know, Psalms 82 and all. Just saying. Yeah.
Ye are gods.
There it is. But you're going to die like a man.
You sure hell will.
So, two things. One, for the Marine on earlier, 10%, really, sir? Get you 100. God damn it. Anyways, enough about that. For two, get this man the information that he needs. Come on. Georgia, Michigan. I've lived in Georgia. Georgia's a hell of a lot better than Michigan. And as far as the other one, I already have a child, so I'm not a Christian. I don't have a job though, so I mean that's kind of fucked. But I do work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, donations and all. No nation like donation.
On that.
But, you know, I mean, there is all those other things. As far as the topic of conversation goes, apparently Job is Jesus, like you said. And, you know, it's funny because the Bible talks about other gods, but Christians say there's one God. But yet right there in Job, it talks about Tahuti or Thoth. Where did Thoth get his wisdom? Where did the ibis get its wisdom? Look that up in Job. The ibis is clearly a reference to the Egyptian Thoth or Tahuti, also known as Enoch in the Christian Bible. They're all the same.
I'm listening.
You know, and I just, it makes me fucking laugh because you have all these Christians willing to die for this shit, but they have no fucking clue about the story in any capacity.
So who would the rooster represent? Because I'm with you with ibis.
The rooster?
Yeah, because the ibis is the Egyptian
Tahuti.
understanding is Tahuti. I can't think of who the rooster would be though. Who? Because
The
it
morning,
says
it would be the
who-
morning star, though. If you think about it, the rooster comes out when? The rooster calls the morning star. So whoever's calling the morning star, that's the god that is.
that would be Venus.
What's really fucked up is I hear a rooster crowing right now in the background of where I'm at. And it didn't start crowing until you said, who would the rooster be? And I'm hearing this fucking rooster in my left side. The fuck?
I could
Maybe
see,
I really am God controlling all this shit. You're just a figment of my imagination.
a lot of this will be relatable to Egypt and Egypt as well as Mesopotamia, and so I can see the rooster, the morning, the sun. Either you can look at the rooster as the morning star, or because it's supposedly the idea is that it yells before the sunrise or as the sunrise, which would be the morning star, which could be relatable to Venus. You can even relate it to the sun itself as a worshiper of the sun, which would be anywhere from Apollo to Ra.
The son of God, like sun up there that provides life for everybody and dies.
Yeah. I forgot who the sun god was in the Akkadian Sumerian religion. I know Sin is the moon god. Ooh, it starts with a U. His name starts with a U.
Right.
You're making me do work. Starts with a U. What is that damn dude's name? He's gonna piss me off.
It's Udris in the Nordic. I know that because the U would be crossover. Because all these religions are just fucking copies of each other. That's why the stories are all the fucking same with little alterations.
It is. They all are just.
And it's family stories. Really what it is it's family stories. Job had a shitstorm because he chose to just fucking exist perfectly. And this God is an evil, malicious, fucking jealous God. Fearful, if you look at the word jealousy, they're synonymous with each other.
Yeah, and I've heard many pastors when I was in church, and they would use the Job story to say that no matter how good you are, bad shit is gonna happen. And I used to be like, so bad shit is gonna happen because even if I'm good, because God may be up there making a bet over my life.
Right, with the devil. So God's hanging out with the devil making bets?
Yeah. Oh, and it's Utu. The sun god in the Sumerian Akkadian is Utu or Utu/Shamash. Oh, Shamash. So that's the Moabite god.
Shema, yeah, I just put that one together real quick.
Yeah, that's the Moabite deity. I didn't realize that Utu was his. Utu would be the Sumerian name. Yeah, Sumerian name. So Shamash is his Akkadian name, which goes down to be his Assyrian.
Isn't there an
Canaanite name?
Isn't there an African tribe known as the Utu?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know.
I think there is.
It's 11 million African tribes.
Maybe more. And not all of them are African. You know, so there is that too.
There's a Native American tribe called the Utu.
Okay, okay. I knew there was a tribe out there.
Yeah, they also know,
which is really interesting because if you look at like where it talks about the Mazzaroth in Job, how could the Mazzaroth work without the knowledge of the United States and South America, Canada, you know, North and South America? Like that whole Mazzaroth thing would not work if they didn't have knowledge of that. It'd be half there.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about that off the top of my head. Or if I do, I don't know by that title.
Right. The Mazzaroth is the stars.
Oh, I know about stars.
Right, right. So when we start putting those Utu and Utu,
yeah,
Because like you would not have certain constellations available to match the land masses and everything like that without the knowledge of the United States. And I say United States, I mean North and South America.
No, you would, but it's different. You would have knowledge of the northern. So the northern hemisphere is all going to see the same stars, same constellation. The southern hemisphere would see them different.
Right.
So, and they really didn't get much of that difference since they were in the tropics. You know, they didn't really go past the tropics and the equator. They didn't go down to the equator. All right. The people that they were in contact with would not have been past the equator, so everything would have been northern hemisphere. So
well, if you look at like, I don't know, I'm a big fan of tracing shit back, like corn. Corn is a great thing to trace back because anytime that old world, like ancient Egypt, talks about corn, it had to come from here because corn is from here. It was made not too far from me now. I'm on Minnesota, and it came from Michigan, and that's why there's a ancient Mayan city underneath the water. Because that's where they came from. Even in their own stories, it says they came from up here.
Well, I mean, that would fit with the migration pattern from the Bering Strait Bridge, ice bridge during the ice age.
No, because Minnesota is more toward, or Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan is way more towards eastern United States than western United States.
When you look at the migration pattern that people who came across the Bering Strait during at least the last ice age, they filtered through and went east and southeast and west. Right?
They went around the Rockies, basically, or that mountainous region.
Yeah, they went along the coastline, and others did go eastward into the eastern parts of Canada, into North America, and then continue south as though, following the animals and the weather. But then there are migrations where some left the Northeast, the North period, and made their way into Mexico and down into Central America and then on into South America.
Right.
So the migration of
the Olmecs were already down there, though. A lot of the Olmec tradition, like I do a lot of research, and it's not all fucking firsthand account, but I get back as far back as possible because old books actually, before they were all controlled by one family or one group of families, so the information is not necessarily, controlled by a particular narrative.
Yeah, I just go by archaeology. Yeah, I don't really, get into like the actual history books that different people have written. I mainly go by archaeology when it comes to that. And
I go by both.
Yeah, the Olmecs could have been one of those tribes that actually migrated during that last ice age around 50,000 years.
Could have been.
Right.
They could have been.
They most likely would have been derived from that migration, because I think they date out to be somewhere around that time frame, around like 12,000 BC or something like that.
Yeah, they're just about in that general area. I don't know. I find the archaeology of the United States, or of the Americas, I say the United States because I don't know. It's the corporate overlay is what that is. But anyways, before colonization is so fucking fascinating because there is so much that we quote unquote don't know, but there's archaeology that we clearly do know. Like even around me is like Mound's View. Well, Mound. What were the mound? That's the fucking mound builder people. So they were like right in my fucking backyard. I found personally shit from their culture. I say shit, but I found archaeology from their culture. And I look at it, and you and I will disagree. Me personally, I think this is the start of it all. North and South America. And one of my things is like, I think a lot of history was taken from here. Hear me out. There's one major piece of evidence that really got me questioning it. And it's the city of David and Pumapunku. The correlation. The city of David had 3 defensive walls with angles, and it literally Pumapunku is almost an 80 to 90 percentile match to the description of the holy citadel, quote unquote holy, of the ancient Hebrews. And a lot of the Mayan stories and the other tribes down there, their stories have a lot of crossover. You know, including the connection between the Mayan and the Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Well, I don't think that these people crossed over. I don't think these people had as much contact as we try to give them because they had similarities. For instance, like the word corn in the Bible is not in reference to actual maize that we have in North and South America. It's in reference to like wheat and barley and things of that nature.
And see, I would disagree with that, but
it's what the words meant to the people back then. So and
see, I've done that same research, and I've found other information. Like it's just a matter of if you looked out of the red book and I looked out of the blue book, they're gonna say different things because they're different books. So our research would have to be the same to get to the same conclusion.
Just based on the linguistics of it and the fact that they just never had that crop over there. That it's just not a crop that they ever had at that time frame, right? And then as far as there are some shared similarities that you're going to have when you tell your stories, when everybody's looking up at the sky, everybody's seeing the sea, everybody's seeing mountains, they're seeing all these same things. And most civilizations develop some form of pictograph as a language, as a form of writing at first. And those pictographs, it's not crazy that some of them will show commonality. And then the construction of sites, of buildings, especially all these
mountains, homes.
But they're looking at mountains and basic architect for using, and this is the difference between like us and them. They were using earthen materials and replicating the strong structures that they saw in earthen materials. So if I'm going to build, and especially since most of them thought that gods lived in the mountains, then I'm going to build a temple that's going to be shaped and look like a mountain or a mound. And the pyramid is one of the strongest structures that you could build so that it could last.
Actually, it's funny that you're talking about building because I'm actually working on a job coming up later on this week to get the 4x4 agricultural bags for like moving sand and shit like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
The Uniline bags, they put aggregate in. They're 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot. They're white bags and they're very heavy duty, designed for moving dirt. What I'm going to do with them is I'm actually going to build with them. So, and it's based off of the ancient premises that we're talking about now, because building that way, the main structure of my building is going to be a greenhouse. So it has to be strong, and it makes more sense to be terraced. Terracing from many different cultures. And I'm literally going back to look at the reasons why and how to do that research, because that makes more sense to me than the way we build with fucking sticks today that blows over tomorrow. You know?
Yeah. And especially if you're up north. I was looking at the new dome that they built, I think in Minnesota or somewhere like that, for the Vikings. They built it at a slant because
it looks like a boat.
Instead of building it more rounded, because the problem is when all that compacting comes on top of that falls in. Building it at an angle allows for it to slide. It also allows for the wind to come off it easier. So is
honestly
commonly developed knowledge all over the world at all different time frames.
And I can definitely agree with you. And it definitely does get back to, you know, a mountain is fucking a triangle and the sun is round and the sun goes over the mountain and you have a mountain with a sun above it. And that's a particular place.
Right.
Sure. I'm saying that there are some uncanny similarities between the two. Take Anubis, for example. There's not too many dogs in Africa that I'm aware of at all that look like Anubis, but the Mexican hairless dog looks just like him.
No, you've never seen African wild dogs?
They're not black. That's the part that gets me, is because if they had the wild dog, they would represent him as the wild dog, but they never did. They always represented him in like an obsidian or something dark. And that's the thing that gets me. Like, it sounds small. Sure, but you still get a drink when you grasp a straw. You know, so there might be and there might not be. Neither one of us were there, so it's all speculation at best. And even archaeology, they can only make an educated guess. Yeah, they weren't there. First-hand account.
I mean, that's what it is, an educated guess based on enough evidence that is figured out that you can develop. The fact, I mean, he's based off of a jackal, you know.
I don't see a jackal when I see the statues that I've seen. And I've seen, like, I've gone to see the archaeology at museums and shit like that. Like, I've done legit, like, because I've gone through the mainstream narrative of this, that, and the other thing, and I've also looked into older books, and older books definitely tell a different story. Granted, there was less education, so I do take that into account. But anyways, if you want to throw me off and get some stupid Christian up here to argue with you to tell you that there's a God that they can't prove, kind of like we're doing back and forth talking about shit we can't prove. Shit happens.
I am, but give me just a second. Hell, the image won't come up. Some bullshit.
I mean, if you look at, take for instance, the Scaligerian dialect, or our history as we know it. There's a guy from Russia that went through our history type deal, found all sorts of duplicates, repeats, and it is a well-known fact that the Roman Catholic Church literally changed time. They removed 300 years here and put it in. You're like, they changed fucking time, and it's an easy Google search to see.
I mean, there are certain aspects of the time that they changed. I don't know about that whole theory of them creating this.
Well, where's the archaeology for the Dark Ages?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's
one that they use. Where did I put that up? What's on the screen right now?
A whirlwind, and some poor bastard that's lost a bet with God and it wasn't even involved. And then it looks like just behind him, it looks like a giant sperm.
Yeah, what?
That's wrapping around.
No, I was trying to do a screen share. I was bringing up the jackal. I had a picture of a jackal and then also some statues of Anubis. So,
statue of Anubis, okay.
Like, that's what a jackal looks like. They had a better picture of a jackal, but it wouldn't come up.
I know what a jackal looks like, and they're similar, but a jackal, I've never seen a fucking black dog.
But also, I mean,
that Mexican hairless dog, pull it up. I mean, do the cross reference, give it fair example, and put the two together. Like, put them side by side, the jackal and the Mexican dog.
But so what I'm saying though, that's a good one. The Mexican hairless dog, right? It looks a lot like Anubis as well.
Yep.
But if you got this dog over in Mexico, and if you deify it, but you also got jackals, and I typed in Egyptian jackals, and I wanted this joker right here.
Look at the tail of the jackal too. Look at the tail; it's different. Anubis always had a flat tail, like a pit bull tail.
No, not always.
Just like that Mexican dog.
not
I've never seen him with a fluffy tail, but I never really paid attention to the tail.
But I mean, are they going to sculpt it to be perfectly the same way? I mean, we looked at the tail on this one; it's furry, and you know,
right there, that one in the center. That one in the center. No. Smooth tail. That's not a fluffy tail. And you can see his ribs and everything. You can see all his features in that.
You're going over. You're making a bigger deal out of artistic expression. Like if I'm doing
I think it's important.
Yeah, but artistic expression will allow for you to make adjustments. Like whoever made this one, they made Anubis with a
do a Google search. Do a Google search that says Anubis in the Americas, pre-Columbus.
This is the last thing I'm doing. Since this is
Fair
not
enough.
what we're talking about.
It is good conversation, but you are right. It is completely off topic, and God doesn't exist, and Job sucks because God said so. He wasn't the right horse.
I mean, I see how people are going to, I don't know what this thing is saying, that people are making examples and saying that this is what Anubis is based off of. And if you're looking for a narrative to try to say that Egyptians came to the Americas or Mexicans came to
even
Egypt.
Thoth himself said he came from Atlantis.
Right.
Personally, I think your daughter lives in Atlantis. I've been there, and that shit circles around and around and around.
Well, that's Doriel. So Doriel is a con man. So if you're reading Doriel's Emerald Tablets, that's con man shit.
No. I've read them, but it's not, and I'm joking about Atlanta being Atlantis. I do think that there is there's the Bimini Road, there's all sorts of shit. But anyways, that's not Job. They got screwed too by the same God because they are underwater. And at least Job got his kids back, or new kids, or how's that work? If my kid just replace him and be like, oh, new little child, I'm gonna give you the same name and you're gonna have the same facial feature. We're gonna go fishing together. It's gonna be the same exact thing.
That's some bullshit.
Anyways, have fun with your Christians that are gonna come up and say Nubs is an asshole and he's completely wrong about everything. And also say that you're an asshole and you're completely wrong about anything, because we know no love like Christian hate.
Exactly. We'll see if we get one. Appreciate you, no. All right, Obi. If you're on TikTok, you just got to be patient. Yeah, because whoever came up and said bring me up, I ain't gonna just bring you up because you say bring me up. You gotta wait your turn. Shit. What up, Obi?
Hey, what's going on, Lorenzo? I'm back, bro.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. The question was the topic. I've been out of the book for a little while now, so but I do kind of remember with Job, as far as God being the God of the Bible being good to Job, obviously not, because that whole idea of suffering, um, being rewarded for suffering, I believe that's like a manipulation of, that's a manipulation. That's what's the difference between a pimp and a prostitute. That's basically the same thing. Like a pimp will send that woman out to these dangerous situations. And that's to me, that's a form of suffering. Um, and that woman is thinking that she's doing it, like she has to go through this. She's been manipulated she needs to go through this to serve her, whatever, her guy. And it's kind of the same thing, because I look at that as those are years time wasted of productivity that could have been used in a more, for whatever, especially in Job's case, You know what I'm saying? I don't even remember how many years we were talking about with this suffering, but the idea that the premise that it came from a bet with with Satan or the accuser or whatever. So that whole idea, and then the story is written to show that there was reward at the end, and herd is doubled, and he was given new children and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
again, that's a story written by people, and I think the idea is to basically manipulate those followers to say, hey, no matter what you're going through, whether you go through suffering, it's okay. You go through it because um whatever. That's how I don't know what, I don't remember. Like I said, I've been out the book for a while. So but I the way I interpret it is like, hey, suffer, it's okay, you're doing it for God. If it happens, it happened for a reason. Well, actually in Job's case, there was no reason. You know what I'm saying? Because originally I believe the idea was that you go through suffering because of sin, but in Job's case, it was just a bet. It was a deal. So, that aspect I feel is manipulation. Now, because, people, in reality, like people will tell you, hey, if you work hard, there's a reward at the end. But and people try to equate that to suffering. That's not suffering, because if you're working hard to achieve a goal, to reach somewhere, you're still able to sustain you know your some sort of livability. It's is the reason the worldview, the view might be, is called suffering, because you might see other people maybe enjoying life while you're working hard, and that might be viewed as suffering, but that's not real suffering. Is like slavery, extreme poverty, stuff like that. So I don't look at that's why I feel like, in that aspect, God was not good to Job. Now with Adam and Eve, obvious with that one, because the tree of knowledge, they in that Garden of Eden story, if whatever they called it, the tree of life, tree of knowledge.
Tree of knowledge of
Um,
good and evil.
okay, yeah. So if you place that there, um, and then now remember, this God is the creator God. So you created everything. That means you also create this serpent, and you created Adam and Eve, your children, and then this serpent manipulates the woman to eat from it. So that's a transgression against you. Why are you gonna be upset? That's your creation, the serpent. And then that woman, I guess manipulates the man to eat from it also. And then whatever they gained is I guess a basic knowledge of life. And
No,
so
that's the
it's
knowledge of what's good and what's evil.
just good and evil. But okay, but it had to be more than that, because whoever wrote that story, then what was the point of being naked? Is not evil at that point. So where did that
No,
come from?
so a couple of things. So the yes, the serpent was created at the same time all the other animals and beasts of the field were created to be presented to Adam to see if he could find a good helpmeet first with the animals before the creation of Eve. And so this guy did create the serpent right at that time frame, and that's why the serpent and the devil are not the same being.
Mhm.
The serpent, it is this guy's fault that he left the serpent in the same vicinity where he knew he had these two adult aged, because people like to point that part out, these are two adult aged people who had childlike minds because they didn't know the difference between good and evil. And that was the only thing that it indicates that they didn't know. They didn't have a consciousness that would tell them if something they did, said, thought was good or evil. So now we don't necessarily know how it went down between Adam and Eve. It just says that, Eve was the one talking to the serpent, then she ate the fruit, then she gave it to Adam. A lot of people like to say Adam was standing right there. A lot of people say that he may not have been around. At the end of the day, to me, that don't matter. She gave it to him and he ate it. So I always make the joke that her pum pum was so good that he was going to do whatever the hell that woman told him to do. So we don't really know where he was. It just said that she gave it to him. So you can make the reference that Adam was standing there the whole damn time and heard the whole damn thing. So he was a little punk and didn't do his job to say, hell no, why are you talking to that serpent? That's one of the main ways I've always looked at it. Even when I was a Christian, I used to look at Adam as a punk because he didn't take care of his responsibility of saying, hey, I know I told you what God said, but God told me directly. So let me step in here and be like, nah, dude, serpent, go on about your way. Right.
Yeah.
So Adam was a punk. I even wrote a poem about it back in the day and said it in church and I got cussed out. But
of course.
but so yeah, so this guy winds up being a terrible guardian at that time frame, regardless of who ate, when they ate, where people were during the whole situation, because he facilitated the entire situation by placing this thing of good and evil. Now, like I said, we know that Adam was cognitive enough to tend the garden. Adam and Eve were cognitive enough to tend the garden. They were cognitive enough to have language, since they named all the animals, but they just didn't know what was good and what was evil. Now, it was being written from the perspective of people who had already established in their culture that to see even your wife butt booty ass naked, or to walk around butt naked, was a bad thing and to be ashamed of. And so the authors of it were already living at a time frame where they thought that that's a bad thing. So they put it into the story. They would not have known. There was nothing in the story that leads you to think that being naked in the garden with your woman is evil, which is kind of contradictory to Songs of Solomon, because in the Songs of Solomon, they specifically meet up in the garden to get butt booty ass naked and get some of that poom poom and ping ping.
I see. Yeah. See, I never really did that deep dive as to where, because the way I break things down is like when it goes down to an origin, especially, well, not in all literature, but when you talk about religious, I always, because the issue is they Christians, or people say that this comes from God, so the Most High Power. So I always take it as, if that, which I know is not true, but if that's the conversation, I always challenge it to be that if that's true, why is it needs to be taken as literal. And then but when you go and say, well, the culture, or the people have, this was the way that they viewed evil, so they viewed evil, well, bad, to be naked. But in a natural sense, you're born naked. Every
Yeah.
animal is naked. We're all naked. It's when you it's the pervasiveness and the society that we live in. We make it to where private parts are bad, or we call it even private parts. Whereas you're born that way. Everybody don't have to be a horn dog just because you see somebody in they naked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because even David, he danced himself out of his clothes. Now I don't know if he got completely naked, um, but he got down to his drawers, right? And you're right. It's society that has determined that nudity is some kind of issue. We're all born naked. Um, we don't die naked, but we are all born naked. You're born in the skin that you're in, and it is not seen as a negative when a baby is born and it comes out butt ass naked. But our society has said that you have to clothe that, you have to cover that up. When originally clothing was determined based on the environment that you lived in, right? So, like my ancestors, some of my ancestors coming out of Nigeria, shit, they ain't wearing all that full fur and all that kind of stuff. It's hot, too damn hot. So, but if your ancestors, for my European ancestors, they living up there in Scotland. It's cold as hell. You better put some shit on. So it's really like clothing, levels of clothing originally was going to start because of environment. And then it starts to get more of a cultural form as to what type of clothing and all this sort of thing. The only other way you can say that they saw that they were naked and they were ashamed is that since this guy was visiting them and walking around with them, that God must have had on some clothes for them to even know that they were naked, even once they knew the difference between good and evil. The only way to associate that is God is walking around with clothes on. So now that you see that you're naked and God got clothes on, then you think that being naked is bad because God got clothes on. You see see that logic train right there?
Yeah.
That's the only but because we know this is being written way into by people who were this is being written as if I'm writing a story about the Civil War right now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm adding my thought process into the story. So the author is just adding their thought process of nudity and how they see it into this story.
Okay. Okay. From that perspective, then that makes sense then. Where okay, so going on to that, the reason that the main reason why I feel that it is that God was not good to them is because if that's supposed to be, the you said the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? Wouldn't as a because I have a different perspective as far as like spirituality, as since I've been deconstructed from like Abrahamic faiths and stuff like that. I kind of went more back into Western African, that type of spirituality, just the concepts, you know what I mean? Even those they're created by man, but in my opinion, they make more sense, especially as a Black person. Um, the way I see it is like your parents, your mother and your father, those are your creators. So um, you can even look at them like they're your gods because they're providing for you, they created you, and all this thing. Not saying that they're supreme higher beings, but just in your life, in your experience, these are your people who created you. Now, as parents, you want your children, you don't want to keep knowledge from them. You don't want to keep the knowledge of good and evil from them. And you don't even want to testing them about it is something silly. So whatever the logic behind that, besides just, don't obedience, that's I think that's why I think it was wrong or it was bad. They weren't that the God of the Bible was not good to Adam and Eve for that, because you basically put them in a position where you created this serpent, and wherever this serpent got this character of being the manipulative, it came from you. So so you did it to your own people, your own creation. So what was the point? And then you say you punish them for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a crazy logic in the story. Like parents send their children to school to get information, knowledge. Now, maybe they're not getting full knowledge of truth from school, but the idea is that you want them to get, and then you also give your own perspective of knowledge of what is good and evil. So what I don't see that whole logic of, oh, I'm just testing your faith of obedience and stuff like that. I don't. I think that was bad to do to Adam and Eve. Do you feel the same way, or?
Oh, yeah, I do feel the same way. I was going to go more into it, and I was going to start with this question, with what Kevin Willis is saying. How are you going to test me on something that I don't know, right? If you think I can't test I would never, nor have I ever tempted my children with something that I know is going to have a negative outcome for them. I have never tempted them. I would never tempt them, and especially in the way that this guy did. But then I certainly would be a bad parent, like according to what Kevin is saying, if I would test my kids on something they don't know and then hold them accountable for it and then punish them for it. if an individual doesn't know the difference between good and evil, then they don't know what disobedience is, right? They
Yes.
don't have an understanding of the repercussions of disobedience. Like probably the third word out my children's mouth was consequences. And as I said before, people used to look at me crazy because I used to, my kid was a little baby, and I'm like, say consequences, right? Because I wanted them to understand the word consequences at the earliest age that they could come to that understanding. Because there are consequences for everything you do, and that's important. So, but I would never test them on something, or I would never fault them on something that they had no idea about it. You see what I'm saying? And that's what that guy is doing. He is punishing them for something they didn't have a clue. They don't know what good and evil is. So how do you know disobeying you is evil? And then you said that they would die. They don't even know what cunning is. The serpent was made more cunning. They don't understand what is the definition of a cunning creature. They don't know. They just know he's talking. And he's saying that, hey, nah, that you ain't gonna die. You just gonna know the difference between good and evil. You're gonna become like us, right? They don't know they don't know what trickery is. They don't know what lying is. They don't know none of those things. They just naming some animals and clipping leaves.
Yep. Yep.
We don't even know if they, as who said that? Tahu said, we don't even know if they was doing a nasty thing yet. Yeah, no idea. So, and even if they were, they wouldn't even know what's good and what's bad. Think about it. If Adam and Eve had got some poom poom and some ping ping, they wouldn't know if it was good or bad.
No.
They might know it feel good, but they wouldn't know if it was good or bad.
They're just doing a natural, reproductive act. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I don't, I didn't agree with that at all.
So yeah, it's a horrible. This just shows how this God is not a good God. He's not a good parent, not a good protector. He sets up people for the fall. To me, he's even setting Job up because it might have been a insecurity thing. This damn Job, he is blameless. He turns from sin, but I need everybody to be on some fuck shit so that I can mess with them. So let me set this up so that I can come down and cuss Job out when he asks why. Because Job is literally just getting cursed out because he's like, okay, I did everything that you told me to do, everything that's in the book, everything that's in the law. I ain't never sinned. Why did all this shit happen to me? And then you get cussed out for it. I think he just wanted to cuss out Job because Job was blameless. Because he didn't want anybody to be blameless. He wants everybody to sacrifice animals to him, to bow down and grovel to him. But Job is like, I ain't never done shit, so I don't need to do that shit. So his id drove him to have this bet with him. And of course, he easily got it with the non-Israelites. He's like, them motherfuckers don't like me anyway, so I'm gonna punish them for shit that they ain't, I don't care what they doing. Yeah, just an evil guy.
Yeah. I was gonna touch on with the non-Israelites. I was just gonna say that pertaining to even, the in the book, I guess the Africans would have been like Egyptians, right? So the way they
Well,
all the
Egyptians are Africans, but the Africans aren't Egyptians.
okay, yeah, because the sub-Saharan, they're not even considered nothing, right?
What do you mean nothing?
They're not considered
they're
like
whatever their tribe.
Hamites, right?
Oh, you talking about that bullshit? The Hebrew Bible tries to claim that they are all from Ham. Yeah.
But I've heard that only the northern Africans are considered Hamites. That the sub-Saharan, they're not even considered to be any of that at all, but it doesn't make sense because if that story with the Noah's flood, supposedly everything, but that was just their view of what they thought the world was.
Yeah, they had no idea that there were people below the tropics.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's just a bunch of bullshit. That's
I
all it is.
agree.
I mean, really,
I
that's all
agree.
it is. There's a bunch of bullshit.
But I just didn't like how in the book, like even dating back to, I know that wasn't Israelites back then with Abraham, but just dating all the way back to that, where the whole that when he, I guess when Abraham lied about his wife being a sister with
Hmm.
Pharaoh, and then from that lie he acquires wealth.
Yeah, he pimped.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And he gets you know, rewarded from the God of the Bible for that. And then but that's on the expense of the non well that I guess
Yeah.
it wasn't Israel back then, but non-Hebrew.
Well, it would still be a non-Israelite because the Israelites supposedly come from the line of Shem. So the Egyptians wouldn't come from Shem. They would come from
Ham.
Ham to Canaan to Mizraim, and the Mizraim is supposed to be the Egyptians, right?
Yeah.
According to their belief.
Hmm.
So when Pharaoh's house has a plague put on it, because Pharaoh did get Sarah's pum pum, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Pharaoh's being punished and it's a half lie, for the half lie of Abraham, and then Pharaoh has to reward Abraham for Abraham's lie, for Abraham's half lie.
Yeah, for no reason.
Right, that's the bullshit. And then the same thing happens to Amalek
Hmm.
later on in the story. And this time, you can say that Abraham didn't really know what he was doing the first time he did it to Egypt, but when he did it to Amalek, he knew full well what the hell he was doing then. Because then his son Isaac tried to pull the same bullshit. It didn't work for him the same way, but try to pull the same bullshit.
You
So
see deception.
yeah, and other people get punished for their transgression.
Yes.
That makes no
So
sense.
yeah, so that's why I was gonna go on to, like, and you said Isaac and Jacob, he deceived his father and received that blessing. That blessing went on through his
Mhm.
line. And then Judah, remember he had that transgression, I guess, against God, you can say, because he thought he was gonna go smash a prostitute, and that was really his son's wife that he
Mhm.
was supposed to. I think I think the story says that God said he was supposed to, have a child with her, but he didn't want to. But
No,
he
no,
ended
no.
up. How did that
Oh,
go? I forgot. I
yeah.
forget.
I mean, Onan. So they had a Levitical marriage. So marries her first, but was considered to be wicked, so this guy killed him. So because they didn't have any children and Onan hadn't been betrothed to anybody yet, Onan then has to marry uh, Tamar, and then whatever the first child is in the line of But Onan was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna jizz on the floor," which
Hmm.
is where they get the term onanism, which for masturbating and jizzing on the floor.
Hmm.
So then gets killed. He has one more son named Shelah, and Shelah is too young to get married. And so Judah promises that once he gets old enough, I'll let him marry you. But then he gets old enough, Judah doesn't fulfill the promise. So
Hmm.
while Judah is on his way to sell to sell some sheep or some shit, he sees a temple prostitute.
Hmm.
At least he thinks it's a temple prostitute, but really it's Tamara dressed up like one. He gets the
Yeah.
pum pum, gives her his staff and his signet. Then he sends the goat or the sheep or whatever back for payment, but she gone. So he just going about his business thinking, I got me some free pum pum and had to pay for it. And then he finds out that Tamara is pregnant, and so now he gets in an outrage in an outrage, talking about, oh, she got to be stoned because she was cheating. She's an adulteress. And but then find out that he the daddy,
Hmm.
and they have two twins, and one of them is Perez, which winds up being in the line of David and Jesus.
Okay. Okay. And but
A whole bunch of
but
bullshit.
yeah, bunch of BS. But even through that, look at where we're at today in 2025. This is the line. This is the lineage, according to that Bible, that has the blessing of the God of the book. Look at all that. Look at all that stuff. And then non-Israelites are called Gentiles, and basically, remember how Jesus? I think you said that earlier or something, saying how like Jesus called the Sumerian woman the
Canaanite
dog.
woman. Yeah.
Yeah, Canaanite woman the dog, and
Mhm.
and so God is not good to the non-Israelite. The God of the Bible is not good to the non-Israelite, and that's how I view it. Like that's another one of the things that kind of pushed me away from this like Abrahamic faith, because it to me it's kind of like one of the origin roots of racism, because you're saying that there is a chosen people, a nation that's chosen above all, and they're not perfect. So what is the reason? What makes them the chosen? Because they wrote the story to say
Yeah.
they're the chosen people.
But here's what's funny. Here's what's funny. I want you to think about this for a second.
Hmm.
In the entire history of Israelites, so Israelites would only go back maybe to the 1300 BCE, maybe at best, is when you have your first people who are called Israelites. And then they start telling and making up their whole story, right? How this
Yeah,
God is, they the chosen people and this God is on their side. But
yeah.
when you look at actual history, the Israelites they were under Egyptian control initially in the Levant, and then the Bronze Age collapsed. So from the Bronze Age collapse, they had about two, maybe 300 good years where they was doing some shit, right? Where they controlled this little piece of property. But
Hmm.
then after that, the Assyrians controlled them and controlled the entire area for hundreds of years. Then you got the Babylonians, then the Persians, then the Greeks, then the Romans, then the Ottomans, uh, then the Arabs and the Ottomans, and then they go back and forth between. Then the Europeans adapt the religion. Then they go back and forth between being under control of the Europeans and the Arabs, and they consistently went back and forth in that one. And so they ended up not till like the 1940s where you get this little sliver of land that they've been constantly fighting over and being at war over. All the while, the users of the Bible, being the European countries, went and colonized half the damn world, became a landmass that has very little wealth in it, becomes one of the wealthiest landmasses in the world
Hmm.
for over 1,000 years. This land, well, for over 2,000 years almost, this landmass has been one of the wealthiest landmasses in the world. And they've
Hmm.
utilized this Bible in order to do so. If anything, it seems like they the chosen people because they have gotten the most gain from the usage of this Bible than any other group. No other group has acquired as much. No other group. Think about in this Job story. Job he was considered the greatest man in the East because of his wealth and the fact that he was blameless, right?
Hmm.
Mainly because of his wealth is considered the greatest man in the East.
Hmm.
The greatest group of people based on wealth has been the Europeans who use this Bible.
Yeah,
Like people don't want to hear that, but
it's true. It's true, and
it's true.
honestly, I don't know. I mean, I
So
don't
who's
want
really
to like,
chosen?
but I don't want to like disrespect like our ancestors and stuff like that, the people who were before us, because I think now I guess we have a lot of information at that we are able to get, and we're able to, maybe they weren't able to get the information, but I don't understand how, for me, like I don't even remember exactly when it happened, but the light bulb just went off, and enlightenment has happened to where I just started to view things from a reality aspect. I always had questions though, even when I was a kid. I always kind of like, if stuff didn't sound right, especially come from Bible, I always kind of like had my questions and stuff. And but in them times, you don't question, what I mean? You don't really, it's not like now where like this new generation, they question things. Like if it don't make sense to them, they're not buying it, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's good because you have to understand this, whatever this Bible was written so long ago, it was for those people at that time. Whatever, however the authors felt like, whether it was wisdom or philosophy or manipulation, because later, yeah, like I think you said it too. Later on, the Roman Empire, maybe it did start off to be something as far as a good like for consciousness, but later on, like especially with Roman Empire, trying to unify all these nations that they were conquering, like it was more of a political thing, and but I just don't understand why people still hold on and see that, especially if you're not of this chosen people, you're an outsider, you're a Gentile according to the book. Why are you holding on to it? Because well, why are you trying to, well, what makes you want to still latch on to that, whereas just face reality and kind of like navigate through the world with from a reality view, and then it'll open your eyes a lot more, what I
Yeah.
mean? Telling people, oh, telling yourself, oh yeah, get slapped, turn the other cheek. Suffering is good because whatever, you see the story of Job getting reward and all this stuff. All this stuff is just teach to like keep you in line, like obey what you're told. A higher power, the most high power, whatever that is going to be way more intelligent than the author. The way that they wrote these stories, all the contradictions and all this stuff. Well, where is the guide
Okay.
for the not for the Gentiles? Where is the guide for the Gentiles?
Well, there is none. All this shit is made up. There is no wisdom that you can point to and say that there is a intelligent God that developed this wisdom. Every piece of wisdom on this planet comes from man, plain and simple.
I agree.
And people are going to hold on to whatever they've been indoctrinated into for the most part, especially when there's the promise of heavens and hells. So the fear of hell, the hope of heaven is going to keep a lot of people indoctrinated into one religion or another. Most people who deconstruct from Christianity just flip flop to another religion, right? They don't walk away and say, all this religious stuff is all full of bullshit. Enlightenment is something I can come to an understanding of to make me a better person. But that enlightenment doesn't require any gods.
No.
So, but most people they just jump. You jump from one religion to another, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I, I
that's
you know
what
I
most people do.
Yeah, I wouldn't even like the way I look at religions are, I don't take them literal. I did obviously when I was up, when the way I was brought up, but once I hit that understanding, I put religions with cultures. So if you whatever you feel the culture is kind of like how you want to live your life,
Mhm.
then you can take whatever the spiritual practice, and I don't take all of it. I know that whatever any culture, as far as spirituality, I know that came from a person. It came from the mind of a human. But you can take, like, one of the things that I practice from going back to African culture is from Igbo culture is libation.
Mhm.
So that's something personal for me because it's something that makes sense as far as like if I feel like I want to have a connection with ancestors and the elements of the of life, then that's something personal. It makes more sense than, to me, the what that Bible is saying, that I think that's a sin, obviously, actually trying to connect with your ancestors. right? In the Bible, it's like a sin, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I believe that your ancestors are within your biological makeup. So I don't really have an issue with that. But that's something cultural. I don't really take it too literal. It's just something that whatever it's something that I feel connects. And if people
So,
pick
so,
religions,
so you don't think your ancestors is like floating up in some ethereal dimension, and then they looking down on you and giving you advice and all that kind of shit?
no, no,
Okay.
no. If anything, they're already whatever part of them is already inside of me through DNA. Because I feel like everything is not explained, not even through science. So the
There,
unknown is just the unknown.
there
I
are
don't think.
some there's some behavioral traits that seem to be passed down because I have behavioral traits that are similar to my father,
Mhm,
but and I didn't grow up with him, right?
mhm,
But then, and so mostly everything is your environment. But then, as I met my father, well, I knew him when I was a kid, but as I got to spend more time with him when I was in my 20s, and we actually developed a relationship at that point, because I grew up in Georgia, he was in Florida, right?
mhm.
I didn't get to see him as much. He wasn't a day-to-day presence in my life. But as I got to spend more time with him and start hearing his stories and looking at his personality, I realized that maybe those genetic traits may not have come from my father because my father acted a hell of a lot like my grandfather did. So that could have just been an environmental thing of black men in Marietta, Georgia during that time frame. Because and my mom said this man remind me of my daddy, and I'm gonna go be with this man. Because in all honesty, my father looked like my grandfather on my mama's side. So I don't
Uh,
know.
yeah,
I, I, I'm not still 100% sold on genetic personality traits being genetically pushed down, you know,
oh, okay. You're
because we
not
sit
so.
and learn from people, and then the person ain't really got to be there if the community has a mindset as well. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
But I'm about to get off here, man.
But
You don't
you
have
have
freely out,
heard.
huh?
No, I'm saying you probably heard from people like elders in your family though that have told you, hey, or maybe they didn't tell you, but maybe you've heard or you've seen um, small younger people in your family say, "Man, you do this just like your mom or your aunt or your grandma or your grandfather." And sometimes those things aren't actually learned. I think sometimes that is kind of genetic traits. But again, it's sometimes it's just unexplainable, and that's okay. That's why I don't believe that
Yeah,
a book can tell you everything that you need to know. I don't believe in an all-knowing being.
yeah. I don't. There, yeah. There's no all knowing, but I gotta get off here, man. I'm starting
Okay.
to. I'm hungry. I'm about to get hangry.
You
It's
about to
been
get
3 hours and 42 minutes, and
hey,
oh yeah, and my
hey,
wife.
I appreciate you having me up again, man. And hey, man, I think I'm gonna get a membership, man, just to support the platform. And, like I said, I like
Appreciate
your
it.
channel, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll try to catch you. How you do your lives?
What do you mean? How do I
Like
do it?
you do them like throughout the week
Oh,
or
yeah. Monday through Friday at 12 noon.
oh, okay, all right, cool. Cause
12 noon.
I caught your videos, just like just randomly actually, and I like the content, so I like the topics.
Okay. Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right,
Monday
thank
through
you.
Friday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time until I get hungry, which is usually about 3.5 hours in.
All right,
And
bro, get you something to eat, bro.
yeah, especially today, because I told my wife I was going to tell on her. She made me these little baby ass quiche about this big around.
That ain't gonna work.
Had these two little baby ass quiche.
That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work.
I told her last night, I said, you making me these two little baby ass quiche. I said, shit, when I eat those, by the time I walk up the stairs to get ready for the live, I'm gonna be hungry again. I'm a
Hey, I
grown
saw you talking with the one dude, the veteran man. Yeah. Hey, get on the man about getting this his
man.
rating percent, his compensation. Cause yeah, man. Hey, I'm a veteran too, so I know what you were talking. I know what you were trying to tell him, and it wasn't really registering with him, he was looking at it at a different. He was looking at it in a different way. But hey, just get
Yeah.
on it, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I was his age, I did the same stupid thing. I was like,
Yeah.
shit, man, I'm making all this money. I ain't finna go through all that process. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then when some shit goes south, you be like, damn, man, if I had did that shit, this shit going south wouldn't have made a difference in my life.
Yeah.
How much of a difference would that have made in my life? So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you deserve it. If you
You
served,
deserve it.
if you went to war or not, you deserve it. Because
You
we go through
deserve
hell
it.
in a handbasket.
See, Christianity will have you feeling like you don't deserve it.
Yeah, dumb.
You know what I'm saying? It'll have you feeling like you don't deserve it. Others deserve it. You deserve it too.
Shit, I deserve every penny I get. Hell, I'm mad I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do it earlier. I missed out on some money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not one to miss out on money. So, but
I know that's right.
all right, man.
All right, brother.
All right.
Mhm.
Look at my wife trying to say something. She's talking about something. You have fruit and vegan sausage, man. Yeah, I did. Still, fruit is a simple sugar. So fruit burns like that. The vegan sausage is not as dense calories as actual real meat. So it's going to burn quickly as well, Miss Ma'am. So everything that I ate nothing was dense calories. So therefore, all of it burnt like that, Miss Ma'am. Since you want to throw me under the bus after I threw you under the bus. No, but I appreciate my wife tremendously. She does a lot for me to take care of me, and I am greatly appreciative of that. Well, that's dumb. I ain't gonna say that. She always know that I appreciate her. So I ain't gonna say if she don't know that I appreciate her. Shit, she know. I am very thankful. Very thankful for that lady. So with that, we're gonna end this event today with a reminder that you can still bring your happy asses to San Antonio for October 31st through November 2nd for our meet up here. If you are local, then you need to let somebody know, like myself, so that we can make sure you're able to get into the hotel. Because the pool is like on the 10th floor where we're going to have our poolside meetups. But go ahead. You can still get your rooms. You can still get your room, but you got to call. The link is in the description of the video, of this video and yesterday's video. The link is in the description. You can still call in, reference the Free Thinkers group, get your room, and we will have the meet and greet on October 31st at Devil's River Distillery, 8 p.m. until when we leave there, we probably go around the corner to this rooftop club bar, it's a Latin bar, or we're gonna go down the street to the hole in the wall. On Saturday, we're going to meet for a biz and money talk poolside at Druid Hotel Plaza. So if you're local and you ain't gonna be able to get up there unless we know that you're coming, so that we can get you up there. We're going to meet at the Japanese Tea Garden at 2 p.m. where we're going to have a deconstruction Q&A. We're just going to be talking about whatever subject matter floats our boat. I will have some things prepared just in case y'all ain't got nothing on your mind. And then at 8 p.m., we're going to meet again poolside, and we're going to have our deconstructing, developing the community of deconstructionists, so we can build together. And that's going to have a connection to the biz and money talk, because some of you guys, you have the talent and the ability to add to your income so that you're not dependent. Like, think about what Isaac said earlier. He had to get out of the industry that he was working in because Christians kept asking him what church you go to, and because of that, they would not do business with him. So I want you to, you got to get away from depending on other aspects of providing for your life. So you want to be there for that. And then we're going to do a sound bowl meditation at poolside 7 a.m. on Sunday, October 2nd. And then after that is whatever. I don't know. Depends on what time y'all driving out, leaving out, flying out, and all that kind of stuff. So I will be cordial enough to entertain some of y'all for a certain amount of time on that Sunday. But when the Falcons and the Steelers game start, you will be promptly ignored. You might even be sitting beside me, but I will ignore you because I don't like people talking to me while I'm watching my Falcons. Right? Watching my Falcons, watching my Hawks. Don't talk to me. Right? Don't want to hear you. Team, I'm ready to yell. So anyway, that's the plan. Also in the description, you'll see links, the link where you can buy the shirts, whether you want the Lion as Liar or any other shirts. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration. See you tomorrow.